Responsibility and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday edition. Fancy Brian, I feel like, it snuck up on me.
It does. The time has come up pretty quickly.
Snuck up on me. It is a State of the Union Tuesday. And more importantly, to yours truly, it's a Badger Tuesday. I'm sorry, President Joe Biden. I'm watching your time-honored speech. I'm watching it tape delayed. I'm watching the Badger game, man. They're playing Purdue tonight. That's for the Big Ten championship. Alone, not even tied, just all alone. Top of the conference, king of the hill. So I'm looking forward to that.
Lots of things at stake, and after the State of the Union address, pretty much everything will be exactly the same as it was.
Let's
maybe.
I saw it speculated. Just how late into the day could they theoretically be changing the text of that speech? I've heard all the way up to while he's driving over, they could be changing the script, and they could be changing the words in the prompter, on the commute from the White House over to the Capitol building.
That's a better timeline than the last guy who would change things after he's already spoken them.
Do you know who's giving the response?
Isn't it like the governor of South Carolina or something like that?
Close. Iowa. Next door, Kim Reynolds.
Yeah.
Republican Kim Reynolds, say she's something of a rising star. Now, I saw Kim Reynolds most recently when I was in Des Moines, Iowa for a Donald Trump rally. I think I told you all about it. That's when, let's get Brandon or let's go Brandon. It just got real big. Then the F Joe Biden, that was also the sentiment, on a warm Saturday night in Des Moines. But Kim Reynolds came to the stage. She is Trump embracive. So, when you see Kim Reynolds, think Trump, but also think anti-LGBTQ, because apparently she is through her governance, through her attitudes, but as she rises into national prominence, they may push that a little bit back off the, to the back burner. We're going to have Wendy Strout, though, Human Rights Campaign, Wisconsin's director thereof. She's joining us at 3:30 Central Time. We're going to talk about the response, and maybe what Joe Biden might have to say as well. Wendy Strout, 3:30. Also, and I know you covered this in your fine show, hate to look back even at the finest of preceding products, but I know you guys were talking about the Gableman. And it is Wisconsin's turn in the barrel. This Tuesday, it's our turn in the barrel. Our cyber ninja forensic audit special prosecutor report. Well, it came down and dirty today, and he went out and gave some public testimony and seemed a little unhinged to me. What was your impression, Fancy Brian? Unhinged is that a fair characterization?
Unhinged, angry. The man brought his own lectern to be a witness. Let's just start there. And no matter what I covered in the last hour,
it was more of a mini lectern, wasn't it?
It doesn't matter. The point is the guy brought his own lectern. All right. And
don't we all?
You know what? Next time I show up at traffic court, if I ever have to, I'm going to bring my own lectern, and then I'm going to make up stories as a witness there, because that's basically what he was doing, and then yelling at people.
Well, today, the special prosecutor, if you will, in the state of Wisconsin called for the rescission of the Electoral College votes for Joe Biden. Effectively says, I may not overturn the election, but I don't care. Let's take them back.
And
as if that's somehow legally or plausible in any way, shape, or form.
Leaders of his own party have said that is legally impossible.
And this man was a former state Supreme Court justice in the state of Wisconsin. Now, I have always characterized him, Gableman specifically, as the most corrupt former Supreme Court justice, perhaps in Wisconsin's history. But, I've only been alive 50-ish years, maybe somewhere back in our distant memory. But I mean, he went full Joe McCarthy today. And the Zuckerberg Five. The Zuckerberg Five are 5 cities in the state of Wisconsin that apparently received grant money. What he doesn't mention is the Zuckerberg other 190, which are the other 190 communities in the state of Wisconsin that also receive money from Zuckerberg. But it's only the 5 where they, the Democratic numbers. As Democrats often do, they live in cities and urban areas, and there are Democrats that vote there. And that's where it really gets troublesome for Gableman and his plot to rescind the Electoral College votes, because there's such mass hysteria that he's trying to gin up. How could you trust the outcome of the last election?
If you know the facts of the situation, his opening statement discounts the entire rest of the report. How so? I didn't hear the opening statement. The opening statement basically outlines that from now on, we're going to talk about the Zuckerberg Five. He outlines the whole report. The whole everything is based on that these 5 cities got this grant money and ignores that 190 other cities got the same grant money. That in and of itself will discount the entire thing, because part of the law, as you and I know in our own law case, is that equal application is very important of this law.
Well, and it was litigated prior in a federal courtroom in 2020. The nonprofit dollars that were given apparently by Mark Zuckerberg and his wife that benefited, the resources during a pandemic election in 5 Democrat-led cities, but also, various other smaller communities across the state. And their contention is now between that and the 100% turnout. Now he's claiming there was 100% turnout at the nursing homes, and then he backed it down to maybe 95 to 100%. And I'm like, well, those are definitively very different numbers, because 100% turnout implies something's fishy here. Everybody in the entire state, every nursing home resident turned a ballot in. Well, that seems implausible. But 95% of all nursing home residents during a pandemic, when they are given the ability to vote and ballots are delivered to their nursing homes for them, well, yeah, that seems a lot more plausible. They don't have a hell of a lot else on their plates, do they?
Luckily, he did some hard-hitting investigation as far as that goes, and completely harassed a bunch of old people that live in nursing homes. And
played really some very embarrassing video.
It was bad.
It is bad. And we're not going to play the video. There is, and I believe the video is being shared right now in the Twitterverse by the spokesperson for Donald Trump. Donald Trump started his day today saying, hey, all you media people out there in the world, watch what's going on in Wisconsin. This Gableman, he's my kind of guy. And when Gableman came out today, this Republican, this partisan hack, this pompous SOB, when he came out and said, let's rescind the Electoral College votes for Joe Biden, I'm thinking it's going to be a good day on this show. Because, sometimes you just got to lay some lumber, get out the axe handle, and just beat the snot out of a guy. And I feel like he's got it coming. So I am bringing, some legal firepower, because, I don't want it to be an emotional ass kicking. I want it to be a legal ass kicking. So I'm bringing the fine counsel from Law Forward here in the state of Wisconsin, Attorney Dan Lenz. He's a friend of mine, and he will be joining me on the air at 4:30 Central Time to talk about the Gableman. Maybe just one bite. We've got one bite at Gableman, just a taste for those of you listening outside the state of Wisconsin. And I know we keep talking about this pompous ass, but let's play the one bite we've got at Gableman, because the other one I'm not playing. It embarrasses a poor old guy. Let's play cut 10 if there's time. Play it.
Ms. Merrill Barrett, another voter in the presidential election in 2020.
A memory problem, probably for 20 years.
This is the wrong bite. So anyways, that didn't work out the way it was planned. We'll play you some Sound of Gableman later because I got one bite that I would like to play, and we'll play it when we have the conversation in the 4:00 hour. And of course, we know what's going on in Ukraine today as well. And I would point out one of the Sergis, the Lavrov, was trying to justify to the UN Joint Council today, the invasion of Ukraine. Somehow he's going to put a spin on it, much like Gableman did here in the state of Wisconsin. Put a cherry and a bow on it. As he was doing so, like 140 diplomats got up and walked out. Now, he was not in the room, but you get the message. When you're on the Zoom conference and the entire room gets up and leaves in real time, I think they're trying to send a message. So we certainly haven't forgotten about what is going on in Ukraine. We continue to stand with the Ukrainians, and we will take your phone calls today, 844-967-2789. I mostly bring that up because I see some are already calling. We'll have lots of big conversations. State of the Union address, that's coming up tonight, and we're going to have that conversation soon. So let's talk about it now. What do you hope Joe Biden's going to say? And of course, we know what the right's going to say. Oh, Joe Biden, he's not the Joe Biden he used to be. He's weak and, blame Ukraine, the invasion, and Putin. That's all Joe Biden's fault. And inflation. And I got to tell you, yesterday at the end of this big show, we had a righty that called us, and I nearly had the guy crying, CJ. And I can tell you, if you want to fight about policy, man, bring it. But if you want to fight about supporting the president of the United States during a war, and you don't like my president, that's too bad. Now's the time you step up, even guys like you, CJ. And by the way, there's no crying in politics, man. Bring your big boy pants. Call us again, 844-967-2789. Devil's Advocates, it's a Tuesday.
Shooting people that I mean with my Robert Tony water gun. Here come the deputies, gonna come and get me.
I'm Satan reincarnated.
COVID-19 vaccines are starting to become available across the country. Now is the time to get informed. Get the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. A message brought to you by the Ad Council and the CDC.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
If you love them enough to barely sleep, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Spruce up your home with soy candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents. Did you know our candle jars are also double old-fashioned glasses? That's right, buy a candle and you get a free cocktail glass. Check out our blog at wiscohomegoods.com/blog for more information. That's wiscohomegoods.com/blog.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making never looked so good.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday edition. It's going to go so smooth, and we got a big show tomorrow, including pollster Charles Franklin, Marquette University Law School polling. It drops in the great state of Wisconsin. Charles is going to join us in the 4 o'clock happy hour, and Bill Press, he's a crowd favorite. He's the returning champ, and he returns tomorrow in the 3 o'clock hour. Bill Press is going to help us react to Joe Biden's State of the Union address. He gives it tonight. Biden gives the State of the Union address at a time of international upheaval. I'm going to read a little bit here from CNN. Polling shows that Americans don't trust Biden when it comes to Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. Really, that's Joe Biden's fault? It is the latest manifestation of how American satisfaction with Biden and the direction of the country have turned. Oh, yeah, they've turned sharply negative since the last time Biden addressed a joint session of Congress last April. Biden has one of the worst approval ratings going into his first inaugural address of any president in the polling era. And his decline seems to come from younger Americans and non-Democrats who once supported the Democratic president. Biden's current approval rating comes in around 41%. Ouch. His disapproval rating registers at 53 or 54, depending on how you average the polls. That's bad enough for minus 12 or 13%. You know, the old plus minus 12 or 13. Guy's almost given up 2 touchdowns before he starts the game. When Biden spoke in front of the Congress last April, his net approval rating was on the other side of the ledger. He was plus 12. The change in Biden's, I guess that's approval ratings, has occurred largely because voters lack trust in him on the coronavirus pandemic and the economy. Biden's net approval rating on the coronavirus stood at plus 30 10 months ago. Today, it's minus 3. Well, here's some good news. The mask mandates are done. Right here in the great city of Madison, Wisconsin, where I originate this little program from. Well, Dane County, at midnight last night, and the city by extension, the mask mandates are done. And my kids, for the first time, like 2 years, are doing in-person today, optional masks. Now they both brought masks. And I suspect they'll wear masks for at least a portion of the day because they're pretty courteous kids. But the mandates are done. And you know, the whole trucker convoys, the freedom convoy, that embarrassing bunch of little wusses driving out there on the highway, is just not a lot of them. But what are they even complaining about anymore? There are no mask mandates. So maybe, you know, all the people, and we're all sick of coronavirus. We're all sick of the pandemic. Dems, Republicans, we're all sick of it. Just because we believe in science a little bit more than you do doesn't mean that we're not also sick of wearing masks and then being, you know, safe and socially distant and all that kind of stuff. But here's the point. You can't hang this one on Joe Biden anymore, at least not at this point in the pandemic. That may change, always subject to change, but let's stop blaming Joe because you got to wear a mask. And above and beyond that, the people of this nation should be coming together around Joe Biden. He is offering real leadership in regards to Ukraine. And I think that it has to be. How can it not be a dominating point of the State of the Union address tonight? And I'm wondering, you know how it is? It's a little show thing. Stand up, sit down. You know, you either clap vigorously or ironically, occasionally they get sarcastic. They'll stand up and cheer one item that the Democratic president might highlight. Like, there's one thing you get right, and it's this. But I wonder if they're going to come off, and I'm talking specifically about the Republicans at this point. I wonder if they're going to come off as just a little unpatriotic. If he mentions Putin in the chamber, are they going to cheer? Talking about the Republicans now. Do we have to worry about it? Does someone from the caucus have to tell them, don't cheer when they mention Putin? We're not cheering them publicly. That's sort of a private thing. Now, there were a couple of chastised members, I've noticed, Paul Gozer and Marjorie Taylor Greene, chastised only in name, not really action. Kevin McCarthy. Apparently their crime was speaking at a white nationalist conference in conjunction with CPAC in Florida last week. Apparently that's sort of a non-starter, even for some Republicans. But what was the consequence? What was the worst that happened to him? Hell of a lot of nothing. Nothing happened to them. Now, Marco Rubio, I understand, way too busy to get a COVID test and attend Joe Biden's State of the Union address. So he won't be there. I'm not sure that Marjorie Taylor Greene will be there, but, do we want her there? Actually, I'm pretty sure she will, because she'll be tweeting and making a spectacle. And Joe Biden's going to bring some low approval ratings to the chambers tonight. And he's got to change the tide. I'd love to hear from the audience. We'll take some calls after our next fine guest. She is Wendy Strout. She is the Wisconsin State Director of the Human Rights Campaign. And the Republican response is coming from Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds. And we're going to talk about her agenda for just a little bit. Because if you don't like what Joe Biden's doing, I can tell you this. At least he doesn't hate gay kids and transgender people. At least he's not trying to walk back into a closet. They're not trying to sort of weaponize parents at school board meetings. Critical race theory. That's their newest plan. These cultural wars on the sort of school board level, the granular level. That's the Republicans' new plan. And the newest rising star in the Republican Party is Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds. She didn't get all tarred and feathered with Trump last time through, but she's supportive, stood with him at a rally in Des Moines. Hell, her, Grassley. He's the future of the Republican Party. They say she is, but they're buried, at least politically. Come back. Wendy Strout, Human Rights Campaign's Wisconsin Director.
I did what I came to do.
What'd you do? This is the defining challenge of our time.
You know what? I'll tell you something. There's nothing better than a hot sausage, couple 2-3 cold beers, and Devil Radio on a box.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Wisconsin. You know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites. Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
Do you need to hire?
Hi there, Wendy. Can you hear me?
Your business. Find the right candidate with our help wanted half
I can hear you.
Devil Radio will create a
excellent. How are you today?
Your business. Play it on Devil Radio for the month. We'll feature your job listing.
You're muted again.
Fridays, and we'll even publish your help wanted listing on Devil Radio.
I'm well, thank you. One moment.
Website, all for just $300 per month. If you're hiring, Devil Radio can help. Call today.
There's a Henry in the waiting room. Is he associated with your organization, Wendy?
They say they're tailgating for Saturday's Maxine radio broadcast live at 6 p.m. And they won't leave until it's over at
excellent.
midnight.
Thank you very much. We're back from break here in about 2.5 minutes.
Music rocker, interviews, throwbacks, live music in the Devil's Lair, and Max Inc. Heavy after 10 p.m.
Max Inc. Heavy?
That's right, rocker. Only local hard rock and metal after 10 during Max Inc. Heavy.
Tune in Saturday at 6 p.m. for Max Inc. Radio on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Is your smartphone really a smartphone if it doesn't have the Devil Radio app? No, it isn't. Download the Devil Radio app in the Apple or Google Play Store and listen to the greatest radio station ever whenever you're on the go or stationary or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished lower. The Dow down 597 points. President Biden delivers his State of the Union address tonight. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the country is headed in the right direction.
Jobs have always been the number one issue to working families. And on that measure, this first year has been
And excellent. That'll work perfectly. Henry just hides his camera there. We do, it's a visual product here as well. So I'll also be hiding mine when we get back here. And you guys are going to have an excellent conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
The buck.
Great, thank
Instead
you.
of taking responsibility for the failures of his radical far left Democrat agenda.
New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell is welcoming back Mardi Gras after a 2-year coronavirus break.
The energy, the momentum, it's spread throughout this city. The route has been fabulous. People are just excited.
I'm Ed Donahue.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Today, March 1st, is the day the Wisconsin Elections Commission had highlighted as a deadline for the state to have new legislative maps in order for the commission to be ready for candidates to begin circulating nomination papers by April 15th. The Wisconsin Supreme Court heard arguments from several parties in regards to the
Looks like,
redistricting process.
did you hide your camera again, Wendy?
The decision is expected from the state's highest
Okay.
court soon. The Milwaukee Bucks beat the Charlotte Hornets last night.
I saw you were still in the waiting room. We're okay.
Bucks put together a complete
Oh
game.
yeah, sorry. I need to fix my
Okay, we
lighting.
are back in 20 seconds.
Early against one of the NBA's highest scoring offenses. The number 10 in the nation, Wisconsin Badgers men's basketball team will host the number 7 in the nation, Purdue Boilermakers, at the Kohl Center this evening. Tip-off is at 8 p.m., and if you're attending the game, it is a whiteout, so wear white Wisconsin gear. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
This is how to be. This is how to be human.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday edition. We welcome a fine guest, Wendy Strout. She is the Wisconsin State Director for the Human Rights Campaign. Wendy, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be back.
Wendy, let's talk about tonight, the State of the Union address. Joe Biden's going to give his speech, but then the Republicans are going to respond. And I noted a press release from your organization, the National Human Rights Campaign. It's going to be our neighbor in that Iowa's near Wisconsin, Kim Reynolds, the governor of Iowa, a Republican, and she's something of a rising star for that party. Do you think it's fair to characterize her as that, Wendy?
I would say so. I mean, she is basically kind of living the playbook of what we're going to hear from her tonight. Like, we expect that we're going to hear that she is, going to lay out, what the Republican playbook is this year to win. And they have decided that, they're going to attack transgender youth, and that is how they are going to win this year. It's part of their playbook. And so, yeah, I always say that because of this, she is a rising star because of her history here as well.
And let's talk specifically about Governor Kim Reynolds' history in Iowa. What has her history on LGBTQ issues and transgender issues been?
So, one of the first things she did when she came to office is she basically denied Medicaid funding for the transgender community who need this funding for life-saving care. And it was just one of her first acts. Whereas, in Wisconsin, our governor's first act was to make an executive order protecting LGBTQ state employees. But she, also, Iowa was one of the first states to have marriage equality. But, she came up after it, they had marriage equality, and she was still adamant that nope, she believes marriage is between a man and a woman. And, even after it became law of the land, she's still, very iffy on the fact on a marriage equality. And that's just even early on in her career. But she continues to have, anti-LGBTQ policies. Even just this year, she's called for a bill to ban transgender students from playing in the sport that aligns with their identity. And this has been her big thing. The legislature has responded. and it's passing through the legislature. We're seeing it move quickly through the legislature. If it passes, we expect her to sign it. And, that's kind of the playbook we're seeing across the country, is this kind of policies. And, this has been she's embodied this type of policies.
You mentioned marriage equality, and I don't want to digress too long on this point, but with the current makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court, do you think that marriage equality will be revisited before the courts? And do you think there will be an effort afoot if there is success through some of these elective cycles? Do you think they'll think that that's a mandate that they can therefore go and utilize the courts next?
No. I think, what we're seeing is just Kim Reynolds just touting her anti-LGBTQ policies. And really, what we've seen from her is her using the lives of LGBTQ community to really mobilize her base. And, like you asked if she was a rising star, and, we're seeing this across the country where LGBTQ people's lives, they're being seen as political pawns. That's what we're seeing is the GOP party. The GOP is they're wanting to use LGBTQ people's lives to further their own political goals, instead of working on things like COVID relief or working on so many things that our states need. And so again, it's really Iowa being a neighboring state, it's kind of a very big contradiction with our governors, because Governor Evers has been so pro-equality, yet our neighbor in Iowa has been very anti-equality.
Wendy, I did spend a Saturday night in Des Moines in October last fall. It was a warm evening. We were actually playing college football just down the road. An hour down the road, there was a sellout, and I was shocked at the crowd, the size of the crowd, like 40,000 people at this Trump rally. And I can't say it was shocking, but it was a little surprising to me that Trump was being embraced on that stage by Kim Reynolds and by Chuck Grassley, by the Republican establishment, effectively, of Iowa. And, they were flying planes overhead. Let's go, Brandon. You know what that means by now, Wendy. Mm-hmm. I learned what that meant that evening. That was the first time I had heard it. Are you surprised at all that Reynolds would still marry herself to Donald Trump and his failed presidency? Trump was sort of hit and miss on differing LGBTQ issues. What's your thought about her marriage to the Trump brand?
Well, I think just looking at Kim Reynolds' history, I think she aligns herself with anti-LGBTQ policies, and she's not been afraid to oppose, to oppose, LGBTQ plus community and any positive policies. I mean, she's basically made it her purpose to erase any of the progress that's been made in Iowa on LGBTQ equality. So I think, we see her aligning herself with people who, feel the same way she does.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Got a fine guest. She is Wendy Strout. She is the Wisconsin director of the Human Rights Campaign. And we are talking, at least in part, about Kim Reynolds. She is the governor of Iowa. She's slotted to give the Republicans a response to the State of the Union address this evening. And she's got a mixed record at best on issues of LGBTQ. Now, you talked about the national platform, the party platform. We see Ron DeSantis in Florida. He's rolling out Don't Say Gay bill. And it has the support of the legislature there. And apparently will become the law of the state of Florida, or at least all appearances are. What is, other than creating a social wedge issue that they think will somehow engage their base, Wendy, what are these bills supposed to accomplish?
I mean, I think, it's about politics. It's about what do they think is going to mobilize their base. We've seen that, in legislatures across the country, really it's an election year. So we're seeing some of these, you tend to see policies that they think are going to help them get reelected. And that's what it's about. It's about playing politics with people's lives. And they're thinking that this is going to motivate their base to turn out. We see it in South Dakota, which passed the first anti-transgender bill of 2022. We're seeing it in Florida and Alabama and Texas. We're seeing it, all over, especially where there's Republican governors who will sign it. That's what we're seeing. And it's just been, bill after bill after bill. And they're, they're all the same. We see them, support, and we have, we see people passing very similar bills across the country.
Wendy, you mentioned South Dakota. That's Kristi Noem territory. She thinks she's presidential material. Ron DeSantis thinks he's presidential material. Kim Reynolds is giving the Republican response. Somebody thinks she at least should have a bright light shown upon her. But these are the quote unquote future of the Republican Party. And we know that this party has been so married to Donald Trump, at least for the last 4+ years. And they haven't really moved beyond Trump. But these are the candidates, the future. And I don't think Trump really had strong anti-gay beliefs per se. Perhaps some of his policies were bad, but I feel like this comes more from a Christianity, or at least a political Christianity. And Trump may have held up a couple of Bibles, but no one ever accused Trump of being a Christian. These other governors try to play the Christianity card. How much of this do you think stems from evangelical Christianity, and how dangerous is it in the heartland?
Well, I think what you're seeing is, let's just talk about the sports bans that we're seeing, that, where they're banning transgender kids from playing in the sports of their identity. They tend to see them more as like protecting women's sports. And there's now this great advocacy for women's sports. And I think we're seeing these, there's wedge issues that they're focusing on. And I wouldn't say it comes from a Christianity. I think it comes from, what's their political base, and I think it's, less of a Christianity. I know as a Christian myself, I was not taught to judge other people and attack other people. But I think we're seeing this. It's just about politics, and when you're denying people gender affirming care, when you're pulling books from schools and trying to censor curriculum, as Kim Reynolds also supports banning books from teachers and that say anything about LGBTQ people. It's about what is going to move. What do they think is going to mobilize their base?
Well, and I didn't mean to imply that this is any form of real Christianity. I think it's the expedient Christianity. But I think when you talk about the base, you're talking about sort of a white nationalist base. We see it reflected in some of the everything from the insurrection to the treatment of LGBTQ people. Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Got a fine guest, at least for a few more minutes. She is Wendy Strout. She is with the Human Rights Campaign. Specifically, she is the Wisconsin State Director thereof. And Wendy, we appreciate you joining us today. I felt like we had advanced on some issues in our lifetime. And we didn't even had a conversation. And we call ourselves the Devil's Advocates. I had even taken the perspective that, well, perhaps there is some inequality in competition when we're talking about transgender athletes, but specifically the numerical number of cases and the handful of athletes that somehow have dominated their respective fields. I look at the young lady here in the state of Wisconsin that made it to the state tournament as a wrestler. A female athlete is competing against the males, and she's going at the very highest echelons. So there are some athletes, regardless of gender, that are just sort of transcendent athletes. And someone's going to be the best athlete in the pool in the case of swimmers or whatever the case may be. there never seems to be allowance made for the fact, regardless of the gender or the biological, the birth gender or the gender of that person's, how they feel they should manifest. There are some athletes that just excel at their sports. How can those, two things be mutually exclusive in all cases?
Right. And I think, we also forget that, some students have, access to, opportunities to play more and practice more and get better coaching and training, but yet you don't see anything in the bills about that, making it fair that way. So it's about just, attacking their, motivating their base and what's going to motivate their base. So, but yeah, so that's what we're seeing. Mm-hmm.
Wendy, if people want to get involved with the Human Rights Campaign, if they'd like to learn more, educate themselves better, what resources do you guys offer and where can we point people?
Well, I would just point you to our website, which is HRC.org. We have a lot of resources about what's going on in the state. So join us at HRC.org.
And Wendy, do you think it's fair to say, as we watch Kim Reynolds' Republican response, just understand she's pushing an anti-LGBTQ agenda this evening? Do you think that's fair to say?
I think it's definitely fair to say. I think that's what we expect to see tonight.
Thank you so much. Wendy Strout, Wisconsin State Director of the Human Rights Campaign. More Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open. 844-967-2789.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy. That was wonderful.
No religion, no anything. Hurt the Bible, hurt God.
They'd like to get Jesus.
Nobody loves the Bible more than I do.
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Feeling increasingly lonely right now? You're not alone. Try joining a virtual book club or scheduling an online coffee break with coworkers to connect.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Morning, Mama. How you feeling?
Great, and I'm ready for you today.
I'm checking in on you. Morning meditation?
Check.
Dressed and ready to work out?
Check.
Check your blood pressure yet?
And check.
Boom! Great job, Mom. And about those gold earrings?
No, ma'am.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Monitor your blood pressure daily and help each other stay motivated. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
Treat yourself to some Wisco Home Goods natural lotions or sugar scrub in 2022. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our natural hand soaps, lotions, and sugar scrubs offer you the luxury you deserve. Wisco Home Goods self-care products come in a variety of scents you're sure to love. So go on, add a little pampering to your daily routine. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing self-care and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
Stories come to life at your local parks and forests. They're places of wonder, and they're closer than you think. Make the forest part of your story today at a local park near you, or find one at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstead of the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC IPA. This IPA pays homage to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a champion of the progressive movement. AOC IPA is now available in stores throughout Wisconsin. Check our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday edition. Thank you to our most recent guest, a fine one, Wendy Strout, Wisconsin State Director of the Human Rights Campaign. Thanks for coming around, Wendy. And the topic, of course, was Kim Reynolds. She will give the Republican response to Joe Biden. He's giving the big speech tonight, 8 o'clock Central Time. Make a note of it. And, for Badger fans, record it and watch it later. But Michael Gershon over at the Washington Post, a few thoughts about the State of the Union. Gershon thinks this should be Biden's opportunity to rebrand. Let's see what he suggests. The State of the Union address is usually highly anticipated and quickly forgotten, but the speech is useful in determining how the president and his team of advisors want the president to be seen. Joe Biden may wear mirrored shades. A good speech is more than the listing of priorities, but an attempt to create a brand. So how fares the Biden brand? Badly, if recently a bit improved. In the Ukraine crisis, President Biden seems to be leading events rather than being led by them. For the moment, he has the right mix of elements in his response: diplomacy, sanctions, resolve. He benefits, of course, from the heroism of the Ukrainians and the madness of Russian President Vladimir Putin. And I throw in the GCCCP party, the Putin supporting party. But the largest test of his presidency thus far, Biden is performing well. It remains to be seen if Biden's improved reputation on the global stage will influence his dramatically different standing at home. In almost every general political conversation I have, there is talk of Biden's apparent tiredness and lack of focus. Any communication strategy that does not take this into account is not serving him well. Now, President John F. Kennedy talked of vigor in his pronunciation, vigor, as a public virtue. It didn't matter that he had digestive issues, including colitis and urinary infections. We sure those weren't STDs? Was plagued by back pain and suffered from Addison's disease, or that he employed a small hospital of doctors to dose him. Kenny's brand was energy and service to modernization. It helped, of course, that Kenny always looked as if he had stepped out of a fashion magazine. And it's hardly feasible to recommend to Biden, be more youthful and graceful.
I like your suggestion though. Wear the sunglasses, man.
Oh yeah,
If you
put on
walk
the
down,
shades,
keep the
man.
sun, and just say, "Hey, look, it helps me read the thing better. It'll be cool."
I got conjunctiva. I got pink eye. I was on the beach. I got the pink eye. Anyways, it helped, of course, that Kenny always looked as if he had stepped out of a fashion magazine. And it's hardly feasible to recommend to Biden, be more youthful and graceful. People tell me that all the time. The magic of rhetoric only goes so far, but every president must demonstrate to Americans that he or she is fully engaged and active in public interest. And this is Biden's particular burden. His brand should be that of a leader who is relentless in pursuit of obtainable, moderate, and unifying national goals. Moderate. He should be a reformer who rejects complacency and radicalism. A moderate. Just throwing that out there. Gershon thinks he should moderate. This involves a certain kind of public modesty. Not all useful change must be transformational. Trying to assume the part of Franklin D. Roosevelt was not a good fit for Biden. He needs instead to be an advocate of public policies that will elicit positive nods from independent voters. It's setting a low bar. Man, I hope I get some nods tonight during the speech from independent voters. Are they nodding?
Thoughtful nod is a different. See, there's a nod and then there's a thoughtful nod. Like nod, like yeah, I got you. And then there's the that making me think, and I'm nodding,
or nodding off.
That'll be.
You got to be careful. You might misinterpret the nods.
Yeah, think Chuck Grassley.
Good speech writing can help convey the right tone. The State of the Union calls for short sentences and tight paragraphs. The speech should be energetic, future-oriented, et cetera, et cetera. Most that run longer than an hour are victims of message indiscipline. Speeches that dwell on gaining credit for unrecognized achievements are saying, in essence, most of you have been too blind or stupid to see the glory of my triumphs. This is hardly the basis for a political romance. When I oversaw the Gershon writes, when I oversaw the production of 5 State of the Unions, we were always looking for incremental, medium-sized policies that contributed to a composite image of the president himself. The goal was not only to describe what he would do, but to reveal the type of man he was. Every policy choice should be a shard in the mosaic of a leader. A shard. Careful of shards. Sorry, Brad, I went there. And the crisp velocity of his velocity. See, the crisp velocity of my language is sometimes muted.
Hey, you brought it up a while back with Kennedy's colitis.
I know Kenny had colitis.
I know, and then he had the shards. Let's go on.
And the crisp velocity of his language can communicate energy and capability. See, I tried doing that, and then I stumble occasionally. If this year I were writing the State of the Union, not a task I ever particularly enjoyed the many times I did it, according to Gershon, I'd give particular focus to the child tax credit. Under the American Rescue Plan, the measure provided families $3,000 for children 6 to 17 or $3,600 for children 5 or under. The measure didn't create some new nightmarish federal bureaucracy to administer. Instead, it sent monthly checks to every qualifying child. The legislation, which has now expired, took an estimated 3 million children out of poverty while shifting the benefits of federal policy in favor of the young. It achieved greater social justice while rejecting leftist zeal. Back off. For Biden, a move to resurrect it would symbolize an orientation towards the future. And since Mitt Romney has his own version of the legislation, it is a prime opportunity for bipartisanship. More moderation, there it is. There is much for Biden's first State of the Union to cover, from the historically high inflation to a historic choice for the Supreme Court. And the crisis in Ukraine will overshadow his remarks. It would be particularly useful for him to provide a general overview of the 20th century, in which the distant discontents of Europe and the limitless ambitions of tyrants invariably required American intervention. Invariably, eh? But in all of this, Biden's political need is not to show empathy, but energy. He must be a whirlwind, a positive, achievable change. He must be an activist outsider to his own administration, driving progress and innovation against ossified elites and Crudy's bad mouth. What Biden needs most is to show much more vigor on the national stage. Maybe they should play some Macho Man. Do some jumping jacks, do the white man shuffle, but mostly aviator sunglasses. I mean, that's Joe's brand. Keep the man on brand. Devil's Advocates. Greatest radio show ever. That's our brand. Hour 2 is next.
Wouldn't hit a guy with glasses on, would you?
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
COVID has made it hard for everyone to get access to their favorite products. Knucklehead CBD and Vapes makes it easier to get all your smoking needs with their new online store, knuckleheads.shop, where you can order water tubes, vapes, smoke accessories, CBD, and Delta products right to your door. Knuckleheads.shop, or visit their store located at 520 State Street. Knuckleheads.shop, or visit their store located at 520 State Street.
Hey everyone, Jason Hafman here, your host of Let's Get Local, the Dane by Local radio show. Catch us Saturdays at 11 a.m. right here on Devil Radio 92.7.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The Ukraine crisis has given new significance to President Biden's State of the Union address. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
Tonight's plan was to highlight progress against the virus pandemic, rebrand the president's domestic policy priorities, and pitch ways of lowering costs amid rising inflation. But
there's no question that this speech is a little different than it would have been just a few months ago.
Spokeswoman Jen Psaki says the president spoke today with Ukraine's leader, who says he urged a strong and useful message tonight about the Russian invasion. And while the president intends to highlight steps Western nations have taken to help Ukraine, Ukrainian-born Indiana Congresswoman Victoria Spartz is blasting him, for not taking more steps to counter Vladimir Putin.
What is he going to wait when millions have died? Then he's going to do more?
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Russian forces have been focusing on attacks in two big cities in Ukraine, Kyiv and Kharkiv. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says more than 500,000 people in Ukraine have been forced out of the country because of Russian attacks in just a few days.
Children, the elderly, people with disabilities who are making harrowing journeys through conflict zones.
One senior defense official says the U.S. has seen Russian military columns literally run out of gas and morale is suffering. But the official added it's important to be pragmatic. The officials say the Russians still have a significant amount of combat power that has not been tapped in Ukraine. Oil prices soared. Investors shifted more money out of stocks and into ultra-safe U.S. government bonds. As Russia stepped up the war in Ukraine, the Dow finished down 597 points. Players have rejected Major League Baseball's best and final offer to end the lockout before the league's deadline to avoid canceled regular season games. This is AP News.
You're always up for some fun with the family, so you order the essentials, a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with the Bank of America customized Cash Rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
Do you have taxiety, that uncertain feeling before doing your taxes? Filing on your own or choosing the wrong partner can be stressful. Connect with Liberty Tax and then just breathe in and cash out.
Get your largest possible refund or your money back.
Now, repeat.
Visit stoptaxiety.com to schedule your appointment and say farewell to the stress of tax season. Liberty Tax. Let's end taxiety. At participating locations, terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Unlike the legislative Republicans, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM are working through the pandemic to keep you informed. Streaming 24/7 at DARNWI.com.
Hey everyone, it's Abby with Downdrans Distilling. Come out to visit us and try our craft cocktails in our tasting room in Cottage Grove, Wisconsin, open year round. We also have a huge outdoor cocktail garden where we'll be hosting our first annual Bloody Mary Fest this March and other great events. Find Downdrans at your local liquor and grocery stores or stop into our tasting room in Cottage Grove. We're always family and pet friendly. For more information, go to downdransdistilling.com. That's downdransdistilling.com.
Wisconsin, you know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites, Drew Holiday here. And Brooke Lopez here. I love being a champion. And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen. Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote. It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote. They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away. Don't let them do that. You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
This is Rocker, and I'm sitting here on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies, freezing my butt off. So I'm headed next door to the Dark Horse Art Bar for a Rocker Rye whiskey to warm me up. It's a high rye with just a touch of malted barley. It's yummy. Find Rocker Spirits at Festival Foods on East Wash and Woodman's grocery stores. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly. When you're gonna turn on the radio, you gotta listen to Devil Radio 92.7.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. A handful of Wisconsin businesses are being affected by the recent U.S. sanctions placed on Russia for their invasion of Ukraine last week. In 2021, Wisconsin imported Russian goods at the highest level in a decade, with $26.4 million in imported goods, according to state officials. Also last year, Wisconsin exported more than $100 million in goods to Russia, mostly industrial machinery and medical and scientific goods. The long-awaited report from former state Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman is expected to be released to the public today. Assembly Republicans authorized $676,000 in taxpayer funds for the report, which has missed its previous two deadlines. Cloudy skies in the forecast this morning with partial clearing this afternoon and a high of 44 degrees. Cloudy skies to return this evening with a slight chance for snow flurries and an overnight low of 28 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Tuesday edition of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Going to make some time this hour to talk all things Gableman. Got a fine guest who's joining me. He's going to help us out. He is Dan Lenz from Law Forward right here in Wisconsin. And let's just say they take a differing opinion from the work produced by Gableman today. It is a doozy of a work product. Here are a few of the tweets that went out today. Now, Gableman is a former Wisconsin Supreme Court justice. Let's just call him corrupt. Just saves a lot of the explanation. And he's pompous, and he's fat. Not that I'm going to hold that against most people, but, you know.
Imagine if Spanky from the Little Rascals turned really bad and made every horrible decision and became a Wisconsin Supreme Court justice.
Well, he's made it national. He's on the Raw story. As the headline here reads, crazy conspiracy theory, Wisconsin elections chief pads effort to decertify the election. Now, Ann Jacobs, she is the head of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. She is a Democrat. She's one of 3 Democrats. Now, there are also 3 Republicans on the panel, one of whom happens to be a fraudulent Trump elector, but setting that aside for now, because that doesn't really enhance this story for the minute. Well, Gableman dropped his report, and we've been waiting for this report. You know, it's like 6 months overdue, something approaching 6 months overdue. And it only cost us some, $750,000, the taxpayers. And the guy came out immediately after the election and said, rigged, parroted the words of Donald Trump, rigged election. So we knew it was going to be a partisan action right from the get-go. And now we got the work product, and to boot, he gave a little testimony today. Fancy Brian, I think we should start. Just a little flavor of Gableman, sort of the sound of his voice. If you'd be so kind, Fancy Brian, let's start with cut 10, the only one we're going to play of Gableman. But, here's how he sounds. Just sort of sets a pompous tone. Lay it out, cut 10.
He looked on the My Vote website and discovered that his father had requested a mail-in ballot. Mr. Jankowski voted and returned it all before Election Day. The Waunakee clerk told the son that since no one in nursing homes has an ID, they aren't required to provide ID. All they have to do is give consent. The son asked how his dad gave consent since he doesn't speak or write. And the clerk said that pointing isn't acceptable, or an eye wink would be okay as well. I want you to meet Mr. Jankowski yourself.
No, this is still not the soundbite I had requested earlier, so I have no idea what happened to it, but 62. Let's cut that off. Here is the reporting from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. The attorney who led a 9-month-long review of the 2020 election for the Wisconsin Republicans called on lawmakers Tuesday to dissolve the state election agency and urge them to consider decertifying the results. Did you catch that? Decertifying
he
the
looked
results.
On the My Vote website,
let's turn that off.
Gave consent since he doesn't.
Please decertify the results, a move that scholars have called legally impossible. Michael Gableman, the Corrupted former state Supreme Court justice who led the GOP review told the Assembly Elections Committee that legislators should consider revoking the state's 10 electoral votes. I don't think you can do that, which went to Joe Biden over Donald Trump. That was his conclusion. The investigation's conclusion is we should rescind our electoral college votes. Well, he spoke favorably of that idea. He wrote in his 136-page report that the move was not on its own in the Biden presidency. But I don't know if you're aware what their bright idea is they're basically going to get the domino started. And once Wisconsin has the courage to do this, well, the dominoes will start moving in the right direction. Now, Assembly Majority Leader Jim Stenicky, a Republican from Kaukauna, said Gableman was wrong and legislatures could not rescind the state's electoral votes. Joe Biden defeated Donald Trump by more than 20,000 votes in Wisconsin. Recounts and courts have confirmed those results. A legislative audit and independent review by a conservative group, for those familiar, the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, found no evidence to question the results. Gableman, the special counselor, investigator, cyber ninja, all wrapped into one, by contrast, argued voting problems were extensive and said they have called the results into question. Nonpartisan attorneys for the legislature have said that is impossible. An election of presidential electors, this is a quote from the report, an election of presidential electors that violates Wisconsin or any other state legislature's relevant laws is both void and voidable. He argued that that could be done by lawmakers alone and would not require the approval of Democratic Governor Tony Evers. You see what they're doing? Gableman's bright idea. The Republican-controlled, gerrymandered legislature should just, take control. It's not a bill. You don't need the governor involved. We'll just decide to revoke the electoral college votes. Now, Trump...
That's the kind of stuff that Putin does. That's the kind of stuff that, authoritarian regimes do where, it's the party. The party decided that we won.
Well, if you let him, it is. Trump touted Gableman's work. Donald Trump, former guy, touted Gableman's work just before his testimony, issuing a statement saying, everyone who loves America should be closely following today's final hearing in the Wisconsin Assembly Committee on Campaigns and Election. Someone looked that up for him. Trump doesn't know what that means. With highly respected former corrupted, Crudy's ad, Wisconsin State Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman. He's not highly respected by anyone. The man couldn't win re-election in the state of Wisconsin. He didn't even bother running. He knew. We all knew. Gableman's report and testimony comes as Republican state rep sympathy ramjam ranthem of Campsport called decertifying the results. Other Republican lawmakers have rejected the idea. Well, that was before they had the backing of Michael Gableman. I mean, this, folks, I know it seems crazy, but this is probably good news. I see it as good news. Every single Republican in the state of Wisconsin is either for this report and for decertifying the election, if such a thing even existed, or they're against it. And by extension, they're against Donald Trump and everything he stands for at this late hour, because the only thing he stands for is somehow trying to overturn the outcome of the last election. But I love this as a wedge issue. So anyways, Rantham is one of 3 Republicans running for governor. The others, former Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Clayfish and management consultant Kevin Nicholson, well, he's kind of a perennial candidate, have criticized how the election was conducted, but have not called for decertification. And all 3 candidates and Gableman have railed against the state's bipartisan elections commission. Gableman called it hopelessly incompetent. Now, there is certainly a case of projection and said it should be dismantled. Republican lawmakers voted to create the agency in 2015 over the objection of Democrats. Now their positions have switched, with Democrats in favor of it and many Republicans opposed to it. Well, Democrats were for the former nonpartisan, not three partisans and three partisans, but a bunch of retired judges, the Government Accountability Board. And that was disbanded by Republicans because it had the temerity to try and hold the former governor, Scott Walker, accountable for his illegal campaigning here in the state of Wisconsin. So then Republicans got rid of that and thought they'd put a toothless 3-3 board in place. And the fact that they ruled on anything whatsoever that went against Republicans, or at least to their perceptions, because that's the only thing they can point to. Speculation and some random videos that Gableman presented today at his, Elections Assembly Commission hearing of him, apparently, I don't know what he's trying to do. It was some really old people. And they apparently didn't have the mental capacity to vote, or that was being asserted by family members. And there was this random attorney, Karkdahl. I mean, the guy's up on ethics charges already for a number of meritless Trump lawsuits he's already rolled out. Well, he also gave testimony today. So they were, quite a pair, two peas in a pod. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. We'll open up the phone lines. CJ, come on, man. I don't want to make you cry. Why don't you just take today off? The rest of you, 844-967-2789. We'll be right back. There is no crying in politics, CJ. So, again, I recommend you just take today off. The rest of you, though, you go to the top of the queue.
My allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
Being a father is an honor, a challenge, a duty, a celebration, and a testimony. I want to be legendary for you because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much. I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
My Shiro always goes the extra mile, stretches every dollar, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings now at aceyourretirement.org.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Spruce up your home with soy candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents. Did you know our candle jars are also double old-fashioned glasses? That's right, buy a candle and you get a free cocktail glass. Check out our blog at wiscohomegoods.com/blog for more information. That's wiscohomegoods.com/blog.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. The Devil's Advocates.
1, 2, 3. Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Welcome back from the 420 break. Joining us on the big show tomorrow, Charles Franklin, pollster extraordinaire, Marquette University Law School poll. And he assures me he polled on the question of legalized marijuana. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow about 4:30. Also joining us on the big show tomorrow, Bill Press, pundit, friend of the Devil's Advocates. Bill's coming on at 3:30 to help us react to the State of the Union address. And joining us in this big hour, like 10 minutes from now, we got to find attorney Daniel Lenz from Law Forward. And the topic is the Michael Gableman, the long-awaited fantasy of a conspiratorial report, an enigma wrapped in a web, wrapped in a piece of fish paper that he rolled out today. And he had some public testimony as well. And Gableman's big assertion at the end of this is we should consider rolling back the certification of the Electoral College count here in the state of Wisconsin. And while he admits that wouldn't overturn Joe Biden's presidency, it'd be a good place to start, wouldn't it? And so anyways, another guy that gave some testimony, and I've met this guy. I've interviewed this guy. He is attorney Eric Kardal, Kaardal, a lot of A's. He was slated to testify. I can assure you he did. He is an attorney with the Thomas More Society's Amistad Project. And the Thomas More Society and Kardal's law firm share office space at the liposuction clinic with Gableman in Brookfield. So it's all very incestuous.
Very good.
Office sharing, it's all very convenient. Kardal and Gableman have both focused on the $8.8 million in grants. The nonprofit, again, this is the Facebook Mark Zuckerberg funded nonprofit Center for Tech and Civic Life, provided to Wisconsin's 5 largest cities to help them run their elections. Oh yeah, during the coronavirus pandemic, like 200 communities in total, but the 5 Democratic ones are the problem. He called them the Zuckerberg 5. And he even made a point. He said, I would call them the Wisconsin 5, speaking for Gableman, but to do so would be to dignify them with too much respect. So by calling them the Zuckerberg 5, he clearly meant to disrespect them.
What a petty child. And by the way, when have you ever seen, like, even a dissent of any sort of Supreme Court justice or anything like that? When have you ever seen such partisan just pettiness? Just absolute, like the first.
Well, you've never read Clarence Thomas?
Okay.
I mean, it's out there, but you got to be a real partisan. And this is not a Supreme Court ruling. This is just one man's taxpayer funded opinion, conspiracy theory. The Zuckerberg 5 received about $8.8 million. And, apparently that opened up Pandora's box, because then they were all what? Open book with Zuckerberg. He could look into their computers or something of that sort was being asserted. Now, Gableman's report contended the grants amounted to election bribery, although no court has agreed with such claims despite ample litigation, like a federal court in 2020 that said that's not true. 3 courts in the state bipartisan elections commission have thrown out challenges to the grants brought by Kardal. One federal judge has asked the court committee to review whether Kardal violated ethics rules with one of his lawsuits. Undeterred, Kardal has 5 more lawsuits pending in circuit courts around the state and 3 additional complaints before the Elections Commission over the grants. Republicans have argued the grants to Milwaukee and other cities were inappropriate because the committees are home to so many Democratic voters. That apparently is their objection.
That's so freaking partisan.
Now, supporters of the grants said they were appropriate, knowing that Republican-dominated communities, they also received grants, though the ones they got were smaller because they weren't as big as the city of Milwaukee. If you just use population, let's say, as a determinant, there's no big city in the state of Wisconsin that is Republican run. Had there been, if we had a Republican mayor, Bob Donnell, he's sort of a half a Republican. If he's the next mayor of the city of Milwaukee and Milwaukee got a grant, then, would it be 4 plus Bob? Because the implication here is somehow the Democrats were corrupted by this. And the mayor should go to jail. And we should overturn the election. But none of this is legally plausible. These are all fantasies. The report also contended absentee ballot drop boxes were illegal. Now we've seen a partisan judge come up with that very rule. Again, the state Supreme Court recently barred the use of drop boxes for the April spring election. That one's coming up. So maybe that one is the new law of the land, but just understand that is a change in the law that came very recently. And Gableman's team questioned voting in nursing homes, saying they found some facilities where all registered voters cast ballots. 100%, he claimed, across the state. And then he hedged and said, well, maybe it was 95%, but it is a lot.
Sounds like he knows exactly what he's talking about.
Implies that every nursing home person in the state of Wisconsin voted. And of course, 100% seems implausible. But there are a lot of, let's say confined people that still vote. In fact, I would say the percentages are often quite high. Only a judge can find someone incompetent to vote. Gableman said he found some instances of that happening, but also questioned the abilities of others to vote. So then he showed up with some videos. The videos Gableman showed included exchanges Cardall had with nursing home residents, asking them what they thought of candidates who took various political positions. Now, Ann Jacobs, the Democratic chairwoman of the Elections Commission, scoffed at the videos. I mean, they were damn embarrassing. These people were held up to public ridicule to make a political point? Here's what Ann Jacobs tweeted. People in nursing homes are not required to complete push polls to exercise their constitutional right to vote. These interrogations by Cardall are completely irrelevant to whether people have the right to vote. You are allowed to vote for a candidate for any reason you choose. So anyways, it's been a fun day here in the great state of Wisconsin. Let's just say some of the Democrats are a little critical of Gableman's fantasy report, the implausible. He wants to make it all come true. Well, we got to find guests joining us next. Law Forward's Daniel Lenz. He's one of the staff attorneys there. Well, Dan's participated in much of the litigation up until now. So, we'll get an insider's view. And we'll ask him, is it time to rescind the electoral college votes in the state of Wisconsin? Or has Gableman, been smoking something? I think it's the latter.
I'm holding you in contempt of court.
Say, man, you got a joint?
I don't like your attitude.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
This is the radio station you were looking for. Devil Radio 92.7. It surrounds us. It penetrates us. It binds the world together.
Help me, Devil Radio. You're my only hope.
Here on Devil Radio, the happy hour is always the happiest hour of the day. If you want to end your day on a high note, join the happy hour at the all-new Dark Horse Art Bar, 756 East Washington Ave, right next to Salvatore's Tomato Pies. Happy hours now Tuesday through Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. with drink and wine specials and $1 slices, and always free parking in our building. The Dark Horse Art Bar. Enjoy this unique, funky, cool space. Surround yourself with art with featured local, regional, and national artists. New shows each month.
At Chad's Design Build, we care deeply about the quality of the services that we provide to our clients. An excellent remodeling experience requires communication, honesty, accuracy, and a detailed plan, all of which helps to create a satisfied client. And these commitments spell our name. To learn more about the Chad's remodeling experience, go to chadsdesignbuild.com. Building a better world, one remodeled home at a time, and celebrating 30 years of excellence.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstead of the Monaco Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC.
Hello there, Mr. Lenz. How are you?
This IPA pays homage
Good to see you again. It's nice to see you again as well. Good deal. You look and sound fantastic. We'll be back here in about 2.5 minutes to kick things off.
Check our website,
monopolibrewingcompany.com,
to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
An industry that started in America should stay in America. At Ignite Glass and Gifts, we strive to offer tons of American-made products, most of which we create by hand in our glass blowing shop. you'll know your product will have thicker, longer lasting glass, and it's artistically made right here at home. Madison's favorite for glass gifts and vape. Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and Odana Road. Keep it American made at Ignite.
State of the Union. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. President Biden delivers his first State of the Union address tonight. AP Washington correspondent Sarkar Magana reports the speech will focus on inflation and the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Energy prices have been going up, and the president will try tonight to explain efforts to lower costs, not just at the pump, but on everyday goods, increases that have cut into earnings and threaten the economy's pandemic recovery. While the Ukraine crisis has somewhat cooled partisan tensions here in Washington, the president's public approval numbers remain low.
Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds will deliver the Republican response. Player negotiators have rejected Major League Baseball's best and final offer to end the sports lockout before the league's deadline to avoid canceled games. Owners and commissioner's office made the offer about 90 minutes before this evening's self-imposed 5 p.m. Eastern Time deadline before regular season games would be canceled. I'm Tim McGuire.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Republican lawmakers in the Wisconsin State Assembly are accusing the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction for changing metrics the state uses to quantify how students are doing amid the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the changes in report card criteria began in 2019 before school shut down in the spring of 2020 with the initial outbreak of COVID-19. The Wisconsin Hospital Association announced on Monday that fewer than 100 patients are currently in intensive unit care due to COVID-19, the lowest level in 2022 and since last summer. The association also reported just over 500 patients remain hospitalized with the virus in Wisconsin. The Green Bay Packers and the NFL announced yesterday that the Packers will be one of 5 teams to host an international game next season, with the Packers playing in London. The Packers are the final NFL team to play a regular season game internationally, and who they will be hosting in London is to be determined. You're listening to Devil Radio.
Charged, never convicted. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Tuesday edition. Got a fine attorney who's joining us right now live via Zoom. He is Daniel Lenz. He is joining us from Law Forward here in the great state of Wisconsin. And Dan, the topic of the day, the topic du jour, the Gableman, man. He's rolling back the Electoral College votes. What a fine idea he has. Dan, welcome back, man.
Good to see you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
I hope you recognize the sarcasm in my voice. It's hard to take this testimony seriously, Dan. He puts forth the legally, the implausible, the improbable, the impossible. He wants to roll back the Electoral College votes in the state of Wisconsin. And I'm still not clear in his 136-page report what evidence he would offer of anything other than, maybe a troubling video or two taken at a nursing home. What was your impression?
Well, the theories that he's propounding and the evidence that he thinks he has, it's just wrong. And we've known this for a long time. This election occurred 15 months ago. And what's contained in Mr. Gableman's report is a rehash of theories that have been tried and have failed in the courts, that have been presented to the legislature and failed. The Legislative Council has told us that Mr. Gableman is wrong. They told him again today in open testimony.
Now, Dan, the accusations of bribery leveled by Gableman against 5 Democratic mayors or communities, I guess, the Zuckerberg 5, as he terms them. Wasn't that litigated already prior in the federal courts? My understanding, a ruling said this was permissible behavior.
That's exactly right. And full disclosure, we represent the city of Green Bay in a couple of these matters. But prior to the November 2020 election, a group of citizens and an organization challenged these election grants in federal court, and a conservative federal judge in Milwaukee determined that there was no federal or state prohibition on these grants. They were determined to be legal before the election. They also were the subject of a couple of post-election lawsuits and failed there as well. Everyone who's looked at it, the WEC, the courts, the state courts, have all determined that this is not prohibited by Wisconsin law.
Now, I found it interesting today. Gableman made a point of describing them as the Zuckerberg Five, these 5 democratically led cities. And he did so derisively. And he even explained himself. He said, well, I don't want to call them the Wisconsin 5. That would bestow too much respect upon them. Dan, he certainly seemingly came with a political axe to grind.
Well, Mr. Gableman's had a political axe to grind for a long time. And it's one of the reasons and one of the ways we know that this is not a serious investigation. It's never been a serious investigation. There's nothing here to this. It is just a rehash and a continuation of these theories that folks want to see over and over and over again. He has a political axe to grind. His staff have political axes to grind. Several of them have been involved or are currently involved in challenges against the state regarding the election. And that's really troubling. You know, this is a taxpayer-funded investigation in theory to inform the legislature. The legislature has voted on bills. It's done its work. It's going home. And Mr. Gableman's still out here, is still going to be out there filing lawsuits, issuing subpoenas, doing whatever he wants, we think, without any legal authority to do so.
Well, but he has had some form of legislative oversight. He's only acting under the direction of Robin Vos. So at minimum, Robin Vos knows what's going on and is condoning this sort of behavior. Again, probably for political ends. But you talk about the validity of even the role of Gableman at this point. Explain that for a minute. He's apparently out of contract.
Yeah, so Mr. Gableman had a contract with Speaker Vos that ended on December 31st. It was extended once to December 31st, has not been extended again. He admitted as much today during his testimony and in response to questions. He's been ordered by a court to present some evidence that he has a continuing contract. He was failed to do so. So as far as we can tell, he ran out of contract, at the end of the year and no longer is an attorney for the legislature or the assembly. We're not sure what his authority is to continue doing these things. And it's an open question for the assembly and for the legislature to answer.
Well, Dan, as an attorney, I know you're an attorney, but Gableman also an attorney by vocation, at least in the current sense. If he was acting in this role without a contract, isn't he an ethical breach as an attorney, as a officer of the court?
There are rules that require attorneys to have written contracts with their clients. They're not hard and fast rules. I don't want to speculate on ethical violations, but he is purporting to act with the power of the legislature. When he goes to court and asks to put people in jail, he's saying he's doing so on behalf of the legislature. And we don't know what he's telling the legislature. There have been a number of suits for open records that Mr. Gableman's failed to turn over. We know he's not issuing reports to Speaker Vos about what he's doing. We know that he's represented by other attorneys in litigation than Speaker Vos. They don't necessarily speak as one voice, but that's sort of between them. What's important here and what we know is that what Gableman has been trying to do by regurgitating these election conspiracy theories has been disproven over and over and over again. The people of Wisconsin have every reason to believe that the 2020 election was safe and fair. We know it was. Everyone who's looked at it has determined that it was safe and fair and the results can be trusted. And the more that we hear this type of conspiracy theory in the press, the farther we get from issues that really matter to people.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. That's Daniel Lenz, attorney with Law Forward. Daniel, how do you think this will play outside Wisconsin? We know that Donald Trump was pointing to the testimony of Gableman this morning and saying, everyone pay attention. He's going to lay it all out for us. Well, he laid it all out. I'm unpersuaded, let's just say, Dan. But how do you think this plays outside of Wisconsin? I mean, it seemed laughable. We've certainly been quick to mock what testimony was given. But is there any plausible way that this plays the way it was intended to the audience it was intended, primarily on the right?
That's a little bit outside my area of expertise. I assume it will play to the people to whom it wants to play, that people are interested in hearing these things said over and over again. We'll listen to it. And that's unfortunate, but is the reality we live in. I think in a larger way, the people in this country, the people all over have a lot bigger things on their plate than what Mr. Gableman has to say about something that happened 15 months ago, especially when he has no basis in fact. I am embarrassed for the state that this continues to be something that we have to see that's being entertained by a legislature, but hopefully that will be the only attention it gets.
Dan, let me ask you about the assertions that Gableman made about 100% turnout at nursing homes. And then even during his own testimony, he rolled it back and said, well, 95 to 100%, although those are distinctly different percentages. But Dan, can you help us understand the high participation rate? And he said it, with the specter of there's something to see there, where there's smoke, there's fire. But what is he even implying, that there was massive fraud taking place in the nursing homes and the staffers were overly persuasive, forcing all people to vote for Joe Biden? I'm not even sure what the conspiracy's output is.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And that is what he's implying. He has no facts to back it up. There's no reason to think that anything untoward happened. People in nursing homes, unless they are under a specific type of order, have every right to vote. This was a very high turnout election across the state, in Republican communities and Democratic communities and in independent communities. A lot of people turned out to vote, not in excess of, not in such a way that it's suspicious. It was just a high turnout election. People cared a lot, and that's great. And people have a right to vote. We shouldn't be turning over every rock, trying to prove that they don't. These folks have the same right to vote that I do and that you do.
Now, Gableman talked about a voidable election. I've never heard of such a clause in the Constitution, but what is the plan to voiding an election? Have you heard that legally argued before, Dan?
There is no plan. There's no provision to void an election. The state statutes lay out a recount procedure. There was a recount in the 2020 presidential election in Wisconsin, paid for by Donald Trump. That process took place. The results were confirmed by the Supreme Court. It's over. That there is no voidable election. That process has been knocked down over and over and over again.
Now, we know that Attorney Cheeseborough and I also believe Cleta Mitchell were both subpoenaed by the January 6th committee today. And they both have tie-ins to what we're talking about here, which is, the specter of a stolen election, but perhaps the real effort to steal the election. Now, Law Forward has tried to, I guess, get action from the Wisconsin Elections Commission, to my understanding, and even the Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin. Dan, what does your firm feel like should happen in the case of these 10 false electors here in the state of Wisconsin? What should be the consequence?
Well, that's up to a number of different actors, both the Elections Commission, DAs in the state, the Attorney General, and we're going to continue to look into that. But there has to be some accountability for these folks who acted as though they had authority they don't, and tried to do things to overturn the will of the people in how they pick their leaders. And what that accountability will look like, I don't want to speculate today, but there has to be some answer for what these folks did in the shadow of the Capitol.
Now, Dan, would it be a legal shield if an attorney acting on behalf of the Trump campaign, let's call it Cheeseborough, our understanding from prior reporting is he reached out to Jim Trupis, a attorney acting on behalf of the Trump campaign here in the state of Wisconsin, and they laid out this false slate of electors plan. And would that be a legal defense? I know Bob Spindell, who apparently was one of the false electors, and he also happens to be a Wisconsin elections commissioner. He has effectively confessed or implicated the Trump campaign multiple times in his conversations with reporters, Dan. And he said, we were directed by Trump's attorneys to do this. To your opinion, sir, is that a legal defense?
Well, we're all accountable for our own behaviors, regardless of whether an attorney, we spoke to an attorney beforehand. The exact contours of how that argument would play out before the commissioner, before the courts, again, we just don't know yet. But there, other folks in other states did something similar, but they presented it in such a way that it acknowledge, hey, there's a legal challenge, and if that legal challenge were to succeed, this is what we want to do. The electors in this state just signed a document saying we are the electors, and that's a different thing, and something that we need to look into.
Now, there is an attorney. He gave testimony today in this elections hearing, assembly elections hearing, Eric Cardall. And Cardall has been the impetus behind a number of the lawsuits. He apparently does an office share with Gableman, the special sauce prosecutor. Cardall, the validity of the lawsuits, I understand your firm has had to deal with a few of these lawsuits, or at least filed briefs in these lawsuits. Have you seen anything laid out with merit yet in any of Cardall's pleadings?
If I just say no, is that too short of an answer?
No, it's not. I mean, I interviewed the guy this summer and I tried to understand what it was he was claiming. And effectively, he's claiming somehow these 5 Zuckerberg cities, basically turned over the elections operations for $8.8 million. The fact that they received money, they somehow turned over command of their elections. And I haven't seen any physical evidence or any sort of evidence, Dan, that would seem to back those claims. So, I found it troubling when Cardall was making that speculation last May. And obviously, some of the courts he's appeared before have some ethical questions about him as a lawyer. So no is probably a good answer in this case, Dan.
Yeah, sorry, I'll jump back in just to confirm that none of that happened. Elections were run by the clerks. They were run very well in 2020. The election was a success. The voters in Wisconsin had their voice heard. And what Mr. Cardall says to the contrary just isn't true. And we'll continue to push back against those theories.
I hear the music playing. Dan, that means our time's about done. Daniel Lenz, a fine attorney with Law Forward. Dan, thank you for joining us. And can't wait till Gableman's next public testimony.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Come back. More Devil's Advocates. The show continues.
Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something.
Thank you, Dan.
At the end, there'll be who knows what happens.
There's nothing more tedious than a trial.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles, soil, and your favorite plant. It'll grow sealed right in its own ecosystem. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
This is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Treat yourself to some Wisco Home Goods natural lotions or sugar scrub in 2022. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our natural hand soaps, lotions, and sugar scrubs offer you the luxury you deserve. Wisco Home Goods self-care products come in a variety of scents you're sure to love. So go on, add a little pampering to your daily routine. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing self-care and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
Right now, we all feel a little disconnected. For seniors living alone, the isolation can be overwhelming. Connect with an older loved one and have the conversation of a lifetime at StoryCorpsConnect.org/AARP. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
I'm Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company in Deep Red, northern Wisconsin, and I have a super PAC. We make good trouble by buying billboards, radio ads, and calls to voters in northern Wisconsin. We target federal and state elections, think Ron Johnson and Tom Tiffany, and concentrate on a fair redistricting process. Give a donation now if you're able at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com super PAC tab. Help us make the politics of the Northwoods as clean as our lakes and streams. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com super PAC tab.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about, The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the Tuesday edition. I want to thank our most recent guest, the fine one, Daniel Lenz, attorney at law with Law Forward right here in the great state of Wisconsin. Now, you had to get out the popcorn to watch the testimony of Gableman. A little unhinged. We're looking a little, mock-worthy to the national stage, the international stage. Trump turns the focus on the state of Wisconsin, and then he turned Gableman loose. I got to tell you, I'm a little embarrassed to say I live in the great state of Wisconsin, at least today. But one thing you cannot accuse me of being is a carpetbagger. But there is a Trump sycophant out there right now running for a congressional seat in Tennessee. She had something of a bad experience with a local talk radio product. Perhaps not the greatest radio product ever, but anyways, wanted to share this story before my little buddy Dominic joins at the 5 o'clock hour. During an interview with Michael Patrick Leahy of the Tennessee Star, former State Department spokesperson under Mike Pompeo and current candidate for Tennessee's 5th Congressional District, Morgan Ortagus, was asked about her newly amended status as a Tennessee resident. She get all that, so she worked for Trump. Technically she worked for Mike Pompeo, and she had sort of a big title in the federal government. And after that run of success during the Trump administration, she decided, well, I'm bound for Congress. I need to run. And, got to pick a state, so why not Tennessee? At one point in the interview, Leahy challenged Ortagus to explain why she was not a carpetbagger. And then he held her accountable to the definition. Here's what was read to her. The first definition is a Northerner who went to the South after the Civil War and became active in Republican politics, especially so as to profiteer from the unsettled social and political conditions during Reconstruction. Now, the second is a politician who takes up residence in a place and runs for office without having strong ties to the area. My question is, does that second definition, a politician who takes up residence in a place and runs for office without having any real strong ties to the area, does that apply to you? And if so, why? And if not, why not? That's a hell of a question. Can't call that one a softball. Ortagus explained that first off, she's not a politician, hasn't spent her life pursuing political office. We just came from the Trump administration, a little bit of politics in there. I've worked in the private sector. I've worked for President Trump, she said. I've raised my hand to serve in the military. I got motivated to run for office without even any thought of what was happening in all these races, simply because of what President Biden and Nancy Pelosi have done to our country in just a year. So the pat Republican answer, right? During the interview, Leahy gave Ortagus a pop quiz on her knowledge of the region, which did not go well. Sort of a Tennessee, non-carpetbagger quiz. If you're not a carpetbagger, you would know the answers to some of these questions. And they seem pretty straightforward. She did not have sufficient answers, but let's share a few with the audience. Leahy, the host. I like this guy. I don't even know this guy, but I already like this guy. Here we go. What 3 interstate highways are located in the 5th Congressional District? Now, here's the candidate's response, Ortagus. I'm a terrible driver. Ha, 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 ha. I don't know that. I don't drive anywhere that I go.
You don't need to be a terrible driver or a good driver to know what road you're on.
Well, apparently she does, and she doesn't do any of the driving. So here's another one from the host. One of the most famous NASCAR drivers living today lives in the 5th District and has a large auto dealership in Franklin. Who is that? Ortagus' response. My husband is the car guy. He used to race. He knows all the racing stuff. Another question. Leahy. A rather well-known Confederate general, one whose name and history have been a source of enormous controversy in Tennessee the last few years, was born and raised in the community of Chapel Hill in the 5th District. That's Chapel Hill, Tennessee. Not my beloved Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Who was he? Ortagus. I don't know. What county is Chapel Hill in? Ortagus. I don't know.
What?
When you don't know the county of one of the major communities in the district you want to serve, you just might be a carpetbagger.
If you're going to fake it and come in there and fake it, at least pretend this is easy stuff you could just learn on your own.
You think if you just lived in the county, you might know what county you lived in, right?
This is just
in the district.
This just speaks to how much they have contempt for their own voters because they assume nobody's ever going to go past the surface of, oh, that person voted for Trump. That's it. I'm voting for them.
Well, you know, she's got the golden ticket or the orange ticket, as the case may be. She has earned the endorsement of Donald Trump before she even ran for the 5th congressional district in a place she's never apparently been before.
Are you from here? I voted for Donald Trump. That's not what I asked.
I am told the very strong and impressive Morgan Ortigas is exploring a run for Congress in Tennessee's 5th congressional district, Trump said in January. I couldn't be happier because she's an absolute warrior for America First and MAGA. The endorsement apparently resulted in serious backlash, Politico reported, with his supporters accusing him of spurning a staunch Republican ally who's running. So apparently he picked the wrong horse. He endorsed the lady that ain't from the state, and they must prefer the local MAGA. So you see how confusing it gets.
What would you say you do here?
You know, if I went on I heard Brad Schimmel, the former attorney general of the state of Wisconsin, he went on his first political interview with Vicki McKenna. And Vicki McKenna at the time asked him a few straightforward questions like, what's your website? I don't know what my website is.
I don't even know my own website address.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of expertise.
Yes, exactly. This was his campaign launch interview with Vicki McKenna. Went to Right Wing Talk Radio, and he had a less than auspicious start. And at the end of the interview, and you know, you've got to be a big fan of this show or, you know, crazy about Vicki McKenna to know what Vicki McKenna said when she came back from the commercial break. You know, had the Brad Schimmel on and said, well, you know, I hope there's a primary, because effectively the Republicans can certainly do better than this guy. Brad Schimmel became the attorney general of the state of Wisconsin, did not win re-election. Josh Call, our current attorney general, but he's now a judge in Waukesha County. And when Republicans want to turn over some election law, and I'm not saying it's his courtroom, but where they run to Waukesha, where we play out on 540 AM and 101 FM, The Shaw. Come back, more Devil Radio, more Devil's Advocates. Dom joins us next. Stick around.
I don't have a lot of expertise.
Oh, thank God we live in this time.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. You need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Make a difference working where your heart is. Help adults with disabilities to live their best lives in their own homes. You'll earn $15 to $20 an hour, plus amazing benefits for full-time staff, putting a smile directly on someone's face. Help others maintain their independence and be part of their community. Experience is not required, just the passion to help others. Start your career at Community Living Connections. Text Devil Radio, no spaces, to 72345. That's Devil Radio to 72345.
Hey everyone, Jason Hafman here, your host of Let's Get Local, the Dane by Local radio show. Catch us Saturdays at 11 a.m. right here on Devil Radio 92.7.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News, I'm Tim McGuire. Russian forces escalate attacks on cities in Ukraine, including bombing the central square in Ukraine's second largest city and Kyiv's main TV tower and Holocaust memorial in what the country's president calls a blatant campaign of terror. Secretary of State Antony Blinken tells the United Nations Human Rights Commission,
Council members should stop using language implying that all sides bear equal responsibility
for the unprovoked attack of one side. This isn't even-handed. It's wrong and fails to place accountability where it belongs.
On the sixth day of the war started by Vladimir Putin, Russia is increasingly isolated. Tough sanctions have thrown its economy into turmoil and left the country practically friendless, apart from a few nations like China, Belarus, and North Korea. Overall death tolls from the fighting remain unclear, but a senior Western intelligence official estimates that more than 5,000 Russian soldiers have been captured or killed. Ukraine has given no overall estimates of troop losses. President Biden delivers his first State of the Union address. The AP's Mike Gracia has this on parts of the address released this evening.
The White House has released excerpts of President Joe Biden's State of the Union address coming up tonight. The president will focus on Russia's invasion of Ukraine and say, throughout our history, we've learned this lesson. When dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos. Biden will call Vladimir Putin's decision to send troops into Ukraine premeditated and unprovoked, adding that Putin thought the West and NATO would not respond and that he was wrong. On the economy, Biden will say his plan to fight inflation is to lower costs, not wages, focusing on making more goods and jobs in America. The speech is set for 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mike Gracia, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow dropped 597. S&P 500 was down 1.5%, a 67-point fall. This is AP News.
You're always up for some fun with the family, so you order the essentials, a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with the Bank of America customized Cash Rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more-reward and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
Do you have taxiety? That uncertain feeling before doing your taxes? Filing on your own or choosing the wrong partner can be stressful. Connect with Liberty Tax and then just breathe in and cash out.
Get your largest possible refund or your money back.
Now, repeat.
Visit StopTaxiety.com to schedule your appointment and say farewell to the stress of tax season. Liberty Tax. Let's end taxiety. At participating locations, terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
From Wisconsin Dells to Dousman, WTTN 1580 AM is essential radio to get you through the pandemic.
This is Rocker, and I'm sitting here on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies, freezing my butt off. So I'm headed next door to the Dark Horse Art Bar for a Rocker Rye whiskey to warm me up. It's a high rye with just a touch of malted barley. It's yummy. Find Rocker Spirits at Festival Foods on East Wash and Woodman's grocery stores. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
Do you need to hire? Let Devil Radio help your business find the right candidate with our Help Wanted half minutes. Devil Radio will create a 30-second job listing for your business, play it on Devil Radio for the month, will feature your job listing during afternoon drive on Fridays, and will even publish your Help Wanted listing on Devil Radio website, all for just $300 per month. If you're hiring, Devil Radio can help. Call today.
Breaking news today, Rocker. Crowds of local music fans are gathering outside our studio, and they say they're tailgating for Saturday's Max Inc. radio broadcast live at 6 p.m., and they won't leave until it's over at midnight.
Terry, what are they expecting Saturday night?
Local music, Rocker. Interviews, throwbacks, live music in the Devil's Lair, and Max Inc. Heavy after 10 p.m.
Max Inc. Heavy?
That's right, Rocker. Only local hard rock and metal after 10 during Max Inc. Heavy.
Tune in Saturday at 6 p.m. for Max Inc. Radio on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Here we are, the young contender, scrappy, controversial, has an impressive reach. Devil Radio 92.7.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Monday, the Wisconsin Supreme Court heard arguments in a case surrounding the permitting process for the Cardinal Hickory Creek transmission line from Iowa through the driftless region of southwestern Wisconsin to Middleton. The lawsuit surrounds encrypted messages sent between a member of the Wisconsin Public Service Commission and utility board members during the permitting process that environmental advocates claim signal an inability of impartiality in the approval of the transmission line. Amid this lawsuit, construction of the power lines are continuing despite a federal judge ruling the Cardinal Hickory Creek line cannot pass over the Mississippi River as originally planned. Cloudy skies in the forecast this morning with partial clearing this afternoon and a high of 44 degrees. Cloudy skies to return this evening with a slight chance for snow flurries and an overnight low of 28 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, sliding into the happy hour, and we've been joined by Dominic. Dominic, it is a State of the Union Tuesday night, a Badger Purdue Tuesday night, a Slash Hangover Tuesday night. How's the big concert last night, fella?
Oh, today's Tuesday? Oh, man, I went to Slash last night at the Riverside in Milwaukee. So much fun. Thank you, Slash and Miles Kennedy, for working on a Monday night, rocking my face off. It was a blast. So, yes, happy Tuesday, everyone. Thank God it's happy hour. This is the best I felt all day.
Man, that's awesome. Who goes to a Slash concert on Monday night?
I'd have gone a different night if he was around, but it happened to be Monday.
Look, I know, but if I saw Slash on Monday night, I'd be like, oh, man, I'd love to see Slash, but, it's Monday night.
Oh, come on.
You gotta,
they all end in a Y, man. At this age, you can work out a Sunday if you have to. You got to make it up. You got to live, man. You got to take the opportunity that you can.
I'm sorry, Fancy. You kept trying to say something.
I'm just
rudely
saying,
interrupted.
Slash is one of the few guitarists that you can know who is playing the guitar just by hearing a couple notes. There's just a few guitarists that have that sound, and Slash is one of them. And
just so amazing, so much fun. Yeah, it was a blast.
Well, that sounds like the good news, but Dom, I know you're working stiff these days, man. You missed the really entertaining stuff this morning. Gableman presented his conspiracy theory laden report. People forcing old people to vote, probably for Joe Biden. It's for Joe Biden.
Right.
And we should strongly consider decertifying the state's presidential election. Something legal experts apparently say is a constitutional impossibility. But I think we should try it. I mean, hell, man, this just reflects the ram jam fringe of the Republican Party here in the state of Wisconsin. But now it's front and center, dude. This is their cyber ninja, audit all rolled into one.
Well, at least the cyber ninja, frauded, just kind of quietly went away. You don't hear much about it anymore, right? No, not here in Wisconsin. Our version of the cyber ninja frauded, led by Gableman, that's making national news, and he is literally recommending, I guess, something that the legislature cannot constitutionally or legally do. But hey, what do you want for nothing? He was given no direction. He admitted he didn't know how elections work. He got $700,000 on a strip mall office for 8 months. He gave his expense reports in crayon. What did you expect from the guy?
Well, this is just an interim report. Can't wait till the final.
Yeah. Hey, man, let me tell you something. This guy's got nothing on Mueller. Ram Jam Timothy Rantham was quoted in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel today. According to the Journal, Gableman's report adds fuel to State Rep Timothy Rantham's call for decertifying the results. The Campbellsport Republican is one of 3 candidates hoping to challenge Evers this fall. Here's a quote. Gableman just announced he recommends decertification. Let's get the man who's worked for it into the governor's chair. Ram Jam wrote on Twitter, even though Gableman's report did not offer an outright endorsement of the idea.
But it kind of did. I mean, I don't disagree with Ram Jam. This is now front and center. This is now mainline Republican policy in the state of Wisconsin. And you only really, it's a binary choice at this point. Either you believe the Gableman report, right? He's the reflection of the leadership of the Republican Party. I mean, Voss has been citing the subpoenas, baby. So he is the party. And either you agree with the report that we should decertify the election in the state of Wisconsin, predicated on whatever he threw in his 136 pages, or now you got to go and publicly denounce it. You got to denounce the big lie. You got to denounce Trump. Man, that's a lose-lose proposition for Becky Clayfish and Kevin Nicholson and hell, maybe even Ron Johnson.
Oh, good luck with that, Republicans. Ann Jacobs, the Democratic chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, tweeted this out today, according to Politico.
I tweeted it, Ann. I did invite her along.
Oh, we got to get her on. Wow, Gableman goes full in crazy conspiracy theory and demands that Wisconsin decertified the election. A few paragraphs from Politico, and you can join us on the phones, 844-967-2789. Here's what Politico writes. The retired judge also attacked private grants from the Center for Tech and Civic Life, an election-focused nonprofit organization to which Facebook founder Zuckerberg donated hundreds of millions of dollars in the run-up to the 2020 election. That money was redistributed as grants to local election officials across the country to deal with the complications of running an election during the pandemic.
Now, Dominic, can I interrupt you just for a minute? Because I know you didn't see the testimony. He was calling them the Zuckerberg Five.
Yes.
The
Politico
Zuckerberg Five. He was making a point of it, and he even interrupted himself. And I believe did an aside to Lisa Subeck, a fine Democratic lawmaker from Madison area, and basically said, and I say the Zuckerberg Five, because if I called them the Wisconsin Five, that would show them some respect, and they're not worthy of that. So clearly, he was calling them the Zuckerberg Five.
Well, and when he says showing them respect, of course, his point is to not show them respect, and
to show the opposite of respect.
The them are entire cities, the largest cities in Wisconsin: Milwaukee, Madison, Racine, Kenosha, Green Bay. You get zero respect from Gableman, but of course, I shouldn't bother you a whole lot.
Well, Dominic, let's not forget they were acting at the directive in accepting the money of the federal courts. The federal courts had ruled on this already.
That's the entirety of the point.
Gableman's, it's dirty money and it's bribery. Effectively, they're raising this private money accepted within the parameters of federal law, apparently, because the federal courts already ruled on it, because someone already whined about it. And it wasn't just the 5 Zuckerberg cities. It was like the 200 Zuckerberg cities.
Election officials in 39 of the state's 72 counties received grants, part of a larger group of 2,500 election offices in 49 states that got grants. Nevertheless, Gableman alleged a partisan conspiracy from the CTCL to boost Democrats, dismissing the grants elsewhere as insubstantial. As Crudy mentioned, federal and state courts have previously rejected lawsuits challenging the legality of the grants. Just a little bit more here. Gableman's reports argue that the legislature could decertify the certified electors in the 2020 presidential election by the state legislature, first voting to conclude that the election was held in violation of state law, then claiming that, quote, the level of fraud or other illegality under Wisconsin law could have affected the outcome, and then exercising its, quote, plenary powers to designate the slate of electors it thought best accorded with the outcome of the election.
Well, Gableman also put forth some plan to void the outcome. Like it's voidable. I'm like, where's the voiding clause? Is that in the Constitution? I asked the fine counsel from Law Forward, Daniel Lenz, Where's the void clause?
Yeah, we don't. Did he identify one? We don't have that.
There's no voiding clause.
No void clause.
State or federal constitution, at least according to council.
Wow. So here we go. I mean, what a national embarrassment we are. And this is all on Voss. This is all on the Republicans. And I think you're absolutely right, Crudy. Everybody in the GOP now has to stand up and say, do you agree with this or do you not agree with this? I mean, Steineke, the retiring Republican leader here in Wisconsin, one of them.
Very courageous in retirement.
Aren't they all, though? Aren't they all? He stood up against this, but of course he's retiring.
Well, he said it's wrong because every legal and reasonable reading of the law says there is no void contract clause in Wisconsin state, or the federal constitution. You don't get a do-over.
Even so, I mean, listen, you lost in the courts. Oh, I got a speeding ticket. Court upheld the ticket. Okay, now you're a speeder. I'm not a speeder. Well, you fought the ticket and you lost. So yeah, you got to pay the fine. No, this is wrong. This is a conspiracy. I mean, think about every situation where, the Republicans, the conservatives go to court and they say, oh, look, see, we won this or lost it. Well, you went to court and you lost. You lost. And and I didn't see all of it, Crudy, and I've read some of it. Was there any solution other than overturn the election? How about let's properly fund all of our election districts? This way, they have whatever money they need. They have whatever volunteers, whatever they need, we will fund for them. Was there any sense of that?
They were going to defund ballot drop boxes because now they got a ruling from the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Those are illegal, right? At least in April. So, him coming out and saying, well, clearly there was illegal activity because the courts have already adjudicated this and it's illegal. Right. So he's got a point there. Ballot drop box is apparently illegal in the current sense. So, that's illegal. And the other thing, he put out these weird, sad videos. Cardall, this attorney interviewing, incapacitated elders in their nursing homes. And
elder abuse. Are you kidding me?
Well, if these people are so incompetent, first and foremost, go adjudicate that. Take that to a court, not to the court of public opinion at the Assembly Elections Committee. And if you do, let's not hold these people up to ridicule. Because effectively, if you're making a plausible case, what you're doing is you're holding incapacitated people that don't have the ability, legally, to say, you know what, don't put me on camera. Don't use me as your political prop here.
Right. If they are what you say they are, then you shouldn't be doing it how you did it.
Yes. It felt so wrong, man.
It is wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And I hope anybody whose parents those were, that they were certainly notified. And if not, they should certainly try to get some redress.
Well, it wasn't so much the kids. It was the kids using the parents as props. Well, my old man hasn't talked since 76. So, of course he would have voted for Trump, but, he probably didn't. So, that's the evidence. Videos of old people that can't talk.
The data you have is wrong.
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Is it safe?
It's okay to have questions. Now, get the facts. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so that you can make an informed decision when COVID-19 vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Is that a faucet running? That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Spruce up your home with soy candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents. Did you know our candle jars are also double old-fashioned glasses? That's right, buy a candle and you get a free cocktail glass. Check out our blog at wiscohomegoods.com/blog for more information. That's wiscohomegoods.com/blog.
The Devil's Advocates, rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can join us on the phones at 844-967-2789.
Dominic joining us, joining me on the big show tomorrow. Bill Press going to come and react to the State of the Union address. Apparently, Bill Press also went to a Slash concert last night. Said any day but today. Maybe feeling a little fuzzy. You know how that feels.
Bill rocks out, man. I wouldn't doubt it.
So we got Bill Press and we got New Marquette University Law School polling coming tomorrow. And I've been assured legalizing marijuana, it was an asked question on this poll.
Excellent. Excellent.
So I'll tell you how it went when Charles Franklin joins me at 4:30. And of course, Dom joins at 5, and you can always join at 844-967-2789. Although I've decided CJ gets a cooling off day.
A little break.
I'm going to put him on a back burner. I just, I'd hate to see him break down and cry on the radio. It's an embarrassing thing. It would make him look as bad as Gableman.
Before we get to the callers, Crudy, this one I saw from Reuters today. Apparently some new subpoenas, Crudy. 6 new subpoenas from the Congressional Committee. Individual subpoenas included Cleta Mitchell, a lawyer who advised former President Trump.
Wait. With Wisconsin ties, she was at Foley and Laudner. Go ahead.
And one of my favorites, Christina Bobb, a reporter from the far-right One American News Network, who also worked part-time for the Trump legal team. And I would, as a side note, point out also Christina Bobb's Wisconsin connection. Her organization, Voices and Votes, something along those lines. You can look them up on Twitter, but they're banned right now. They're the ones that
when they come back from their banning, look them up on Twitter.
They're the ones that funded a Wisconsin delegation to travel on private dollars. Apparently, the Republicans have no problem with that, on private dollars to the frauded in Arizona, Jadelle Brangen, the lady who presided over the committee that Gableman testified in front of today, went to go see the frauded funded by Christina Bobb from OAN, who was subpoenaed today.
Well, Dominic, turnabout's fair play. Gableman also went out to Maricopa County to observe the cyber ninjas. But he did it, my understanding, on the taxpayer dollars. And he also took a trip out to Mike Lindell's cyber symposium, right? Yeah. Did that on the taxpayers' dollars as well. So,
well, research and all that.
Got to be on the ground.
Yeah, you really can't zoom in. You don't get quite the feeling. You got to be there, man. And plus, it's warmer there.
So, how do you think this plays out on the national news? I didn't look to see if Fox News is taking this up. Someone's finally, they think they're the first domino here. That, Gableman, he says, well, of course, this action of resending the Electoral College votes in Wisconsin won't make Biden not the president, not singularly, but it's the first domino. It's the first domino in the falling of democracy. And Gableman has shown himself to be a willing participant. This is anti-American. This is anti-democratic.
It's citing cases that were lost or not accepted by the courts based on the lack of evidence as proof of whatever it is you're trying to prove is a bunk position. I mean, what? How can you possibly state that? You can disagree with the ruling, but the ruling was the ruling. You could appeal, you could refile, do something. But at some point, you lose, and you no longer have that portion to defend, to throw up in anybody's faces and say, look, this is the fraud, and here's what happened. And if you do not, as a consequence of your research, figure out why the hell did some billionaire have to come in and give hundreds of millions of dollars to help people go vote during a pandemic? Why couldn't our own government fund that through, I don't know, taxing the billionaires? If that's not part of the solution, then it's purely political, and they're just wasting everybody's time. Of course, they're hacks.
One of the other recommendations from this Gableman interim report, I quote, at best, the Wisconsin Elections Commission is hopelessly derelict of duty. Gableman told the Assembly Elections Committee in a 3-hour presentation of his 136-page interim report. So there's a final report coming, I guess, at taxpayer expense, from his ongoing one-party review, which reiterates past GOP criticisms of the state's presidential election, including the millions of dollars of private grants allocated to cities to help administer the election amid the pandemic constituted bribery. But when he was on the court in the state of Wisconsin specifically, and he was the beneficiary of millions of dollars from Wisconsin Realtors Association, at least their political action arm, and the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, right?
Yes.
They gave millions to get that guy, Gableman, elected to the court.
Yes.
And then when they became litigants before the Wisconsin Supreme Court, he refused to recuse. And the case before the court was the campaign corruption of the former governor of the state of Wisconsin, right? That was the underlying issue. Could you coordinate with third-party groups like he was doing?
It's so long
allegedly
ago. Who can even remember?
Well, Prosser said, well, I didn't feel like I had to recuse because it had been more than a year since I took the millions. It took that long to work its way through the courts. Right.
I know it is, and I think people, either they don't put the, they don't remember, Curtis,
I remember.
I know you do. And thank you for reminding everybody all the time and, being a little gray matter for me once in a while. People need to remember. I mean, this is not just happening out of the blue. This is an evolution of the Republican Party in the state of Wisconsin. What you see nationwide, well, we are the bellwether, man. It happens here first.
But he cannot be laying in bed at night finding, the legal rationale here, because, of course, there is no legal rationale that Gableman lays forth. All the legal challenges have already been dismissed as meritless. And what he puts forth, the Legislative Reference Bureau, the attorneys for the legislature have already said implausible, impossible, can't do it. And he leads with that today. So clearly he's laying in bed at night going, by what loophole can we
dismiss the Constitution and use some fascism, some good old-fashioned authoritarianism like Trump and Putin? That's their answer.
Come back, more devils.
I'm not in the job of having evidence. That's what investigations are for.
It could be. It might be. It is. Devil Radio 92.7.
Pat Slattery here of Slattery's Automotive Service. Winter's coming, and that means now's the time for you to start thinking about snow tires. Travel winter roads with ease on Hakkapeliitta snow tires. Hakkapeliitta is the top-of-the-line snow tire, made in Finland and eco-friendly. If it's snowing, they'll get you there. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to get your set. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
Do you need to hire? Let Devil Radio help your business find the right candidate with our Help Wanted half minutes. Devil Radio will create a 30-second job listing for your business. Play it on Devil Radio for the month. We'll feature your job listing during afternoon drive on Fridays, and we'll even publish your help wanted listing on Devil Radio 927.com's website, all for just $300 per month. If you're hiring, Devil Radio can help. Call today.
Hi, I'm a pleasant voice reminding you to enable Devil Radio before playing Devil Radio. First, you have to enable Devil Radio, which should be natural to Wisconsinites. Just say, Alexa, enable Devil Radio. Then firmly and confidently say, Alexa, play Devil Radio. This should conjure the Devil Radio app, available at the App Store.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. Some of us, were meant to run for public office, and some of us were meant to run others out. That's the side I come from.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at Zero Res Madison.
State of the Union. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. The White House has released excerpts from President Biden's first State of the Union address. AP's Mike Gracia has a look.
The president will focus on Russia's invasion of Ukraine and say, throughout our history, we've learned this lesson. When dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos. Biden will call Vladimir Putin's decision to send troops into Ukraine premeditated and unprovoked, adding that Putin thought the West and NATO would not respond and that he was wrong. On the economy, Biden will say his plan to fight inflation is to lower costs, not wages, focusing on making more goods and jobs in America.
Biden is fighting low approval ratings, inflation brought about by the coronavirus recovery, and an evenly split Congress ahead of the midterm elections in November. In Russia's attack on Ukraine, the death toll is unclear. One senior Western intelligence official estimates that more than 5,000 Russian soldiers have been captured or killed. Ukraine has given no overall estimates. I'm Tim.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Today, March 1st, is the day the Wisconsin Elections Commission had highlighted as a deadline for the state to have new legislative maps in order for the commission to be ready for candidates to begin circulating nomination papers by April 15th. The Wisconsin Supreme Court heard arguments from several parties in regards to the redistricting process earlier this year, and a decision is expected from the state's highest court soon. The Milwaukee Bucks beat the Charlotte Hornets last night 130-106. The Bucks put together a complete game and scored 44 points in the second quarter to put the game away early against one of the NBA's highest scoring offenses. The number 10 in the nation Wisconsin Badgers men's basketball team will host the number 7 in the nation Purdue Boilermakers at the Kohl Center this evening. Tip-off is at 8 p.m. and if you're attending the game, it is a whiteout, so wear white Wisconsin gear. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the happier happy hour. It rolls on, especially when you call us, 844-967-2789. I see you, CJ. I just think you should cool your heels. Eventually, we'll get to you, though, if you're patient. Dom, I got a little bit more to add to the story. Gableman said today, Gableman, the special sauce prosecutor, the corrupted former Wisconsin Supreme Court justice, said, this is an important topic and there's a lot left to do. I will be back.
I'll be back.
He's not done yet.
How's he getting paid, or is he doing this one for free?
Well, I'm not clear if he's under contract. We talked about that again with our fine guest prior, Daniel Lenz. The lack of a written contract, something of an issue, but, he wasn't here to litigate the ethics of Gableman's actions. Here's what Tony Evers had to say. This circus has long surpassed being a mere embarrassment for our state. From the beginning, it has never been a serious or functioning effort. It has lacked public accountability and transparency. It has been a colossal waste of taxpayer dollars. A little bit more from Tony. Any mere condemnation of this effort rings hollow. It has to end. Enough is enough. Republicans in the legislature have always had the ability to end this effort. I call on them to do so today. My understanding, Gableman's just getting started. He plans on continuing this effort. Where he goes from here, Tom, nobody knows.
He will be back in some form.
Yeah, it'll be like a fungus under your toenail. He'll be back.
Crudy, apparently, according to the Journal Sentinel, some Republicans are showing an openness to this idea. The committee chair of the Assembly Elections Committee, Rep. Janelle Brandon, the one who was funded for her Arizona frauded cyber ninja
Maricopa bus, baby,
by Christina Bobb, who's been subpoenaed today by the committee. Here's what she had to say. I think there's a path towards decertification, but I have to say that at this point, there's a lot of bumps in the road. Yeah, it's called the Constitution. A Republican Rep. Dave Murphy, Crudy's buddy from Greenville, that's my neck of the woods, Wisconsin, a member of the committee, said the bar for decertifying an election needs to be extremely high. Quote, to undo an election would be extremely detrimental to our republic. This is very destabilizing. And on the other hand, elections that are stolen, that's also destabilizing to our republic. So, I mean, we have to look at this with an open mind from both directions.
Dominic, I actually went to one of these Wisconsin Voter Alliance rallies, and Janelle Brandon was there and Dave Murphy was there. And I noted the fact he's from your old neck of the woods, Greenville, Wisconsin. And I interviewed Dave
Where
Murphy.
the action is, just for the record.
I interviewed Dave Murphy that day. And today I referred back to that video I had captured, that little exclusive. Now it was outside. There was a rally going on. I'm not going to bore the audience with bad sound, but here, and I paraphrase, but I did write some notes. He talked about the illegitimacies and process in former elections. And I said, could you give me an example, Dave? And he said, sure. The Supreme Court race with Dan Kelly. And I'm thinking to myself, really? Well, that's the Joe Karofsky race, right? Or no, that was the Rebecca Dallett race. Won by
so what? The Republican lost. That's how they roll.
Votes, 163,000 votes. The Liberal won by, right?
What wasn't close.
It wasn't real close. And I would point out his contention is all the Democrats had voted early and absentee, and all the fine Republicans that would have supported Dan Kelly up in Green Bay. Well, they were standing in the rain. And I'm thinking, you let a little rain melt you? You're that sweet? But I mean, that was like his big, that was his bee in his bonnet. Is Democrats had voted absentee, and as fate would have it, it rained on election day, and Dan Kelly lost. And I'm thinking, but he lost by 163,000 votes. I mean, Scott Walker only lost by 30,000. Trump lost by 20,000. The prior Supreme Court race, that was actually the Dallett, that was the Neubauer-Hagedorn race. That one decided by 5,600 votes. The rain didn't depress 163,000 Wisconsinites.
Listen,
it was far more likely Dan Kelly's ruling that people had to go vote in person during a pandemic might have had some effect on the voters of the state of Wisconsin. Maybe they want to punish the guy.
You think, but even so, even if the rain, if the elements kept away 160,000 votes, well, that's not voting irregularities. That's just people deciding, you know what, I don't care enough to go vote. Isn't that so? What your solution is then is to what? Make it easier to vote or make it harder to vote? So, I mean, they want it easy for their folks to vote, but they want it hard for the people who vote against them to vote. I mean,
easy
this
to
is
vote, hard to cheat.
Yeah, come on. It is so disingenuous. And to equate, and to, throw out there that elections are stolen. Well, what election was stolen? And what proof do you have of that? Because you know what? I don't want to live in a representative republic where my vote doesn't count on elections are stolen. If that is the case, absolutely, we should make sure that never happens. But has that been the case? No. Donald Trump was seeding this lie for a year before he lost. He knew this was coming down. And now all the Republicans have just been festering on it, and it's been growing, and they're spreading it. They continue to spread it, but there is zero evidence of that happening. No one would want, Crudy, if this were to happen, if elections are stolen, as Mr. Murphy contends, certainly everybody should rise up against that. But that's not the case. You have
That's
no
what they
proof.
did on January 6th.
Come on, but this is what I'm saying, though. This to say that a lost court case is reason to upend the Constitution. To say that the weather was too bad and so your voters didn't come out, it amounts to election fraud. I mean, these are not even close. They're not even close to what needs to be proven to show that something nefarious happened. Maybe the guy was a bad judge and people wanted him gone. Maybe Donald Trump, the twice impeached one-term loser president, people were sick of his crap. We heard Senator Ron Johnson from the state of Wisconsin say it. If the voters had voted for Trump for the presidential ticket like they voted down ballot, Trump would have been president. Trump didn't get his own Republicans.
One more issue, Dom. You posted the Reuters version of the subpoenas, the January 6th committee subpoenas, and you mentioned the Cleta Mitchell, the former Foley and Lardner lawyer,
yes,
with the Wisconsin connections. And I think you mentioned another, the funder, the Miss Bobs or whatever her name
Christina
was.
Bob from OANN.
But perhaps you didn't see it because it wasn't separately reported at the Reuters article. But there was one more subpoena today. Attorney Cheesebro. You know, Cheesebro, that guy that wrote the letter to Trump's attorney on the ground, Jim Trupis. That was the false electors letter. And that apparently originated with a solicitation to, go find some false electors from Cheesebro to Jim Trupis, Trump's attorney right here in the state of Wisconsin, Scott Walker's buddy. And anyways, since we saw the culmination of that plan, I would call that an act of conspiracy. And I think the January 6th committee would like to get to the bottom of it. And, I put a little more credence in the outcome of their report than what Gableman slacked out there. His little interim jabber, the progress report. It's not, it's like the midterm grade.
That's terrible.
Well, you missed some of the testimony, Dom. I mean, the fact that he ran out old people and it was really horrible stuff. 844-967-2789. Nothing but fine callers like Wisco Paul. How you doing, Paul?
Hey, Paul.
Hey, good afternoon, Devils. Trump is behind all this stuff. I mean, here's Trump. He lost the presidency, legit. He lost the Congress. He lost the Senate. So he's a three-time loser, and he just drags this on. Hey, I got a quick question. I might have missed this. Is the My Pillow guy involved in this too, Crudy and Dom? Is he?
Only tangentially. Not directly. He's not part of the effort directly here in the state of Wisconsin, although he did come to the state of Wisconsin to support Tim Rantham's campaign launch up north there, in his old high school gymnasium where he scored 14 against the neighbor city one time. And he was a big deal in high school.
But this whole thing is cuckoo for for Cocoa Puffs, man. The whole thing, it's crazy. I don't know what happened to the Republican Party. The Republican Party is, I don't even know who these people are. I know who they are. They're racist. I'm going to come right out and say it because you guys mentioned 6 cities he's investigating and 2 counties.
The Zuckerberg 5. I hear that echoing. 5. The number of the day is 5.
At this point, I don't even know what to say about these people. I mean, it's just, it's the whole thing. It's crazy train. Is Trump ever going to leave? Is he going to have a hold of this party forever?
Well,
or what's the deal here?
He's threatening to run again. He said, we did it twice. We'll do it again. That was his latest at CPAC. Wisco, thanks for your call. Yeah, he's absolutely running again because it's the closest thing he's ever had to a get out of jail free card. And if there's a guy that needs a get out of jail free card right now, it's Donald Trump. So if he can just catch an inside straight on the river again, and maybe a little support from Pootie Poot and some social media, and
of course, rain, lots of rain to keep Democrats from voting.
But it's got to be pigpen style rain. Just rain on the Democrats. Don't rain on the Republicans. Against my better judgment, CJ, welcome. What do you got?
Hello, CJ. Happy Tuesday. What do you got for us today?
Well, happy Tuesday to you guys. Tonight is kind of an important night for the Commander Cut and Run President executive order. He's doing such a great job at 37%. And I wonder what topics he's going to avoid. Do you think he'll talk about gas prices, the border, Afghanistan, China, Taiwan, inflation?
CJ, I'll confess.
What topic?
I'm watching the Badger Purdue game tonight at 8:00. Tip off around 8, man.
CJ, let me ask you this. He could, I imagine he will address some of those things. What would you like him to address, CJ? What would you like to hear from the Commander in Chief?
I'd like to hear him say, you know what, President Zelensky, we're going to send you ammunition like Donald Trump did and not a ride like I offered. The guy.
Wait, didn't Donald Trump withhold the ammunition for, a favor?
No, he didn't. No.
Didn't he say that? He said that though, right?
He didn't.
Ron Johnson
He didn't say
said
that
about him, CJ.
He gave him blankets. That's such a class act by they care
CJ,
so much.
why don't you watch the Badger game with me, man? Why don't we watch the Badgers? Either we'll both be happy or we'll both be pissed at the Boilermakers. And then we can read the transcript and we can avoid, overly politicizing this. Because if you watch it with this attitude, CJ, you're not giving the guy a fair shot.
CJ, was Trump's phone call to Zelensky a perfect phone call that got him impeached? What's your assessment of that phone call?
Zelensky said it was a perfect phone call. How about that, guys? Do you guys ever take into consider? You guys make Trump. President Biden is our president. He won. You know what? The state of our union is a catastrophe.
Zelensky was still waiting on the missiles when he said it was a perfect phone call. You realize he was still being pressured to do so. As soon as this came public, he canceled the CNN interview, right, CJ? Didn't go out there and make any public announcements about an investigation of Hunter or Joe Biden. Well, that was the quote, the this for that, the missiles for the announcement of an investigation of Joe Biden.
I need you to do me a favor, though, CJ. Go read it, man. That's what he said.
At least he kept himself calmer today. I was a little worried about it. People even texted me like, CJ's all butthurt. Come back.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
We will be back in some form.
Choose the form of the destructor.
It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
It's funny because he's fat.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles, soil, and your favorite plant. It'll grow sealed right in its own ecosystem. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Sterling, and I know what it's like to struggle with mental health issues. If you have a friend that's going through a tough time, now's the perfect moment to reach out. Learn how to start the conversation at seizetheawkward.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and the JED Foundation.
Treat yourself to some Wisco Home Goods natural lotions or sugar scrub in 2022. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our natural hand soaps, lotions, and sugar scrubs offer you the luxury you deserve. Wisco Home Goods self-care products come in a variety of scents you're sure to love. So go on, add a little pampering to your daily routine. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing self-care and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
My neighbors have different opinions about COVID-19 vaccines. Getting vaccinated is your choice. No one can make your mind up for you. Talk to your healthcare provider about your questions and go to getvaccineanswers.org for the latest information. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hi, folks.
This is Kirk Bankstead of the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC IPA. This IPA pays homage to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a champion of the progressive movement. AOC IPA is now available in stores throughout Wisconsin. Check our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
Malarkey. The devil's advocates invented malarkey. And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, we will hit you up right now at 844-967-2789.
I see that CJ is still in queue. He just can't quit us. CJ, article written just for you. 5 vile things that Trump did to Zelensky in Ukraine that you forgot about. Greg Sargent at the Washington Post. I'll skip the words and just do the bullet points. While Trump spread propaganda about Ukrainian interference in the 2016 election. And that didn't actually happen, CJ.
Yeah,
Meaning
that was the
Trump
Russians.
did it,
Yeah.
but, it didn't really happen the way that Trump claimed it did. Putin himself reportedly put this idea in Trump's head. And Fiona Hill, then the top national security official, testified that this propaganda helped Russia by deflecting attention from Russia's own interference in 2016.
What?
Number 2, he ousted the well-regarded U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. Remember when Trump pushed out Marie Yovanovitch?
Yes.
Because Rudy Giuliani didn't like her. And I think Lev Parnas and Igor Frugman somehow factored in there. I'd have to check the notes. And then, he did freeze military assistance to Ukraine. Trump alarmed U.S. officials by freezing military aid to Ukraine that Congress had appropriated. Even U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, in our interview the day after he voted to acquit, said that, effectively he was trying to convince Trump to give the Javelin missiles. And apparently, didn't want to be a fact witness. But anyways, that's different. We'll talk about Ron Johnson a different day. Oh, yeah. And remember what Zelensky wanted so desperately? He wanted credibility on the world stage. He wanted a White House meeting. Did he get one? No,
Nope.
he never did. Not until Joe Biden was the president. Recall that, CJ? And one more thing. Donald Trump effectively turned his Ukraine policy over to Rudy Giuliani. This
There's
was one of the
11.
most shocking subplots. Trump repeatedly instructed Zelensky to contact Giuliani to discuss what Zelensky would be required to do to please Trump. Remember that? The perfect phone call?
Yeah. Call my ambulance chaser lawyer. He'll hook you up with everything you need.
Giuliani's circumvention of national security protocols deeply alarmed officials. So deeply, I think somebody whistle blew about that phone call, and it turned into the first impeachment trial. But anyways, just in
perfect
case
phone
you
call.
forgot.
Perfect. It's exactly how it should be. It's almost like the president at the time, Trump, wasn't really, acting on behest of America, or even in that for that matter, for Ukraine. It's almost like he was, working for Russia. It just seems that way. But CJ, maybe you got it all figured out.
I'm not an expert on the facts yet. I'm getting there.
844-967-2789. Our pal Betsy. Don't go all full Betsy on us, Betsy.
Hey, Betsy.
Well, I won't now. Hi. I'm really glad you did that and reminded CJ of what a traitor and an illegitimate president that man was, and all the damage that he's done to our country. Not to mention the divide and conquer strategy that our own governor, Scott Walker, perpetrated through. I wish you wouldn't let him on, but you guys let everyone speak their mind. But I'll tell you, CJ, you're poop. And that's all I'm going to say. Bye.
Well, that kept it clean.
Thank you, Betsy. Love it. It is a tough thing. And do you let them all on? Do you let I think you do to a degree. You got to let them say something. It's nice to have a foil like that. But you got to bring the A game, CJ, to tell me that, Zelensky was fine with that. Come on. It was the reason he got impeached. We went over the facts. You can look at that and say, that was a perfect. Trump was totally in his rights by withholding congressionally approved funds and munitions, to an ally. You can say that. It's wrong on the facts, and it's immoral, and maybe not immoral, but certainly not justified for the executive branch to, get in the way of what Congress is trying to do. You can make those statements, but you're not. You're just following the cult leader.
My whole thought for CJ is big girls don't cry, man. 844-967-2789. It's not personal. It's only politics. I mean, if we made this personal.
Are you crying?
There's no crying.
There's no
crying. Crying in baseball. Hell, Brian, there might not be any baseball.
Stop crying, you sniveling ass.
I see MLB has canceled the season, or at least they're delaying the start of the season. That's going to make the big guy real crabby.
How you feel about that, Brian?
Go labor. That's what I can tell you is go labor. If you want to complain about how much the players make, ask any of the owners if they're going to sell anytime soon, because they're never going to sell. They never sell because it's so profitable. Even if your team sucks like the Pittsburgh Pirates do and have been for a really long time, you'll still make a whole bunch of money.
It's going to be a tough sell. Getting a little extra money for the Brewers American Family Stadium. Aren't they seeking some community support, some additional tax revenue against the stadium?
And I think season ticket holders got their letter the other day too. Hey, by the way, can you buy some tickets for our not games?
I haven't purchased my 10-pack or possibly no tickets for the season yet.
Oh, enjoy a non-pack. And non-pack. Just throw us a couple $1,000s and then don't go.
Does nobody care that the Badgers are playing Purdue tonight?
Who?
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Also, a big deal. The Up North podcast going off at 7:00. Consider it your pregame show right here on Devil Radio. We'll take one more caller. Mark from the Sack. Get the final 90 seconds, Mark.
What's up, Mark?
Thanks, brothers, and thanks for reading that on correcting CJ's facts. He just never gets the facts right. And the reason Biden is doing so poorly in the polls is because the press refuses to give him credit for the historically low unemployment rate. Yes, and gas prices are up, but that's what happens when you come to the end of a pandemic and demand goes up. I mean,
but I don't want to blame the media entirely, man. That's like blaming the rain clouds in Green Bay for poor turnout for Dan Kelly. At some point, Joe Biden's got to lead, and the American people will energize around his leadership qualities. Tonight would be a great time to start.
And he needs to blow his own horn, and this toot his own horn like Trump did constantly. I mean, constantly Trump tooted his own horn. How he managed to do that, I don't imagine, because but I mean, it is just, CJ, get your facts right, buddy. And as far as the evacuation from Afghanistan, we evacuated, in excess of 100,000 people from there. And Biden was not.
We're not litigating that right now.
Cut and run.
Damn near out of radio program. We got to thank a couple of fine guests. They included Dan Lenz coming over from Law Forward. Also, way back at the beginning of the show, it was Wendy. I want to make sure I get Wendy's last name right. Where's Wendy's last name? Damn it, I'm going to be in trouble here.
Wendy Strout.
Wendy Strout from the Human Rights Campaign. She is Wisconsin director. Me and names. Stick around, go Badgers.
Go Badgers.
Podcast radio show at 7:00 right here on Double Radio. Native Roots is next.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
It's over. Nothing matters anymore.
And the buck stops with me.
We all know Wisconsin's favorite cocktail. That's right, the Bloody Mary. And Wisconsin bar and restaurants are the best at it. And now it's time for a standoff. Who makes the best Bloody Mary? Find out who wins at Downdren's first annual Bloody Mary Fest on March